Chapter 150. Seeing everyone like this, Dr. Ma smiled. All of you, don't worry. Moorlands Medical College is a sacred place in my eyes. I'm so happy to have the opportunity to further my studies there. Dr. Tang is the youngest doctor in Moorlands Medical College in the past 10 years. Before she returned to China, she already had a lot of clinical experience. She even diagnosed a lot of famous people on the other side of the Atlantic. One of them is probably a senior executive at Google. They specially spent $1 million to treat her. Of course, she successfully completed her mission and brought the patient back from the brink of death. When Qin Guang's family heard how Dr. Ma described Dr. Tang, they couldn't help but feel happy. However, they felt a little embarrassed as it was in front of Dr. Ma. Chen Guoli was still mature. He immediately waved his hand. What do you mean by spending $1 million to treat a patient? This is written in those chicken soup for the soul stories. However, since it's the hospital's decision, we believe in the hospital and Dr. Ma's choice. Dr. Ma became serious. Mr. Chen, don't doubt me. I know my own standard very well. Although I'm a few years older, I might not even be comparable to a normal doctor in Moorlands Medical College, let alone a genius like Dr. Tang. What I told you is all true. Dr. Tang is also very responsible. Before the official handover, she had already read all the patient's medical records. She came prepared. Although the 3 Chen family members were still reluctant to leave Dr. Ma, they were secretly looking forward to it. They really wanted to see what kind of person Dr. Tang was. At this moment, a large group of people came in. Dr. Ma raised his head and smiled. He pointed at the door and said, "Speak of the devil. Dr. Tang is here. She's the prettiest female doctor. I'll bring her to talk to you. Actually, she already knows a lot about your condition." Chen Guang followed Dr. Ma's finger and looked at the door. He was instantly stunned. The person in the white coat was walking in front. Although the clothes she was wearing were different from that day, her face was clearly that of the drunk woman. Ever since Chen Guang had hung up on her and blacklisted her, she had tried different numbers to call him. Whenever she heard her voice, she would pinch the number and ignore her. But he never expected to meet her again in this hospital, and she was about to become his mother's attending physician. He subconsciously thought of this woman's appearance when she was drunk into a pool of mud, and then looked at her excessively young face. Chen Guang's heart suddenly turned cold. His parents were still looking at the young female doctor expectantly. His father sighed. He's really a young genius. Dr. Tang is so young? Feng Rong, who was lying on the bed, also straightened her neck. She looks like she's in her 20s. Dr. Ma nodded and smiled at Tang Ying. Then he turned around and sighed. That's right. It's more difficult to get a doctorate from Moorlands Medical College than to become a professor in our national medical university. But she's only 26 years old. The younger generation will surpass us in time. Chen Guang felt that Dr. Ma was praising the drunk woman too much. He thought about it again. Wasn't Dr. Ma going to Moorlands Medical College? The drunk woman must have found a way for Dr. Ma to get into that so-called Moorlands Medical College. That was why he was sparing no effort to help this woman get promoted in the hospital. At the thought of this, Chen Guang's already bad impression of Tang Ying dropped by 30%. I've seen you at your worst. How can I believe that you're a so-called genius doctor? You're only 26 years old. How can I trust you with my mother's life? Not only did Chen Guang see Tang Ying, but she also saw Chen Guang. She was even more dumbfounded. She did not even notice Dr. Ma nodding at her. She was stunned at the door of the ward, and an inexplicable sense of fear welled up in her heart. She just watched helplessly as Chen Guang looked at her. His gaze changed from surprise to doubt, and then disgust? That's right. That gaze was clearly disgust. Of course, Tang Ying knew why the boy was like this. She was also embarrassed because of what happened that day. Every time she thought about it, she felt ashamed. Dr. Tang, what's wrong with you? A large group of interns and nurses followed behind her, but she blocked the door and could not enter. A young nurse could not help but ask quietly. Tang Ying suddenly came back to her senses. She no longer looked at Chen Guang. Instead, she sorted out her emotions and walked to the bed closest to the door. Today, she was not a drunken woman. She was an attending physician. She was here to work and make ward rounds. Everything else should be put aside for now. However, since she met him here, and he seemed to be a patient's family member, he could not continue to hide from her this time. At the same time, she could also settle her worries. At this time, Dr. Ma came over and greeted Tang Ying. He said, "Dr. Tang, come over here first. Miss Feng Rong is a patient who just came here today. I'll introduce you to her and then I'll go home." Ah! Tang Ying did not react. When she entered the door just now, she did not see Dr. Ma at all. However, she still hurriedly greeted Dr. Ma. Then, she looked in the direction that Dr. Ma was pointing. It was the bed next to Qin Guang. According to Dr. Ma, the lady next to the bed was Feng Rong. Tang Ying had already memorized Feng Rong's medical records. Of course, she knew her condition. It was a very typical chronic kidney failure. Looking at them, they seemed to be a family of 3. He was Feng Rong's son? No wonder he drove a sports car all day to earn money even though he was a college student. It turned out that there was such a reason. I thought that he was a college student who wanted something new and ran around to have fun. I didn't think that he was just being filial. Then, she remembered that he had wasted a few hours of earning money in order to wait for her to sober up. No wonder he was so angry after being misunderstood. Thinking of this, Tang Ying felt even more ashamed. She must find a chance to explain to him. As for Feng Rong's illness, she had to do her best regardless of whether it was true or not. With this thought in mind, Tang Ying finally calmed herself down. She walked over with a smile, greeted him and began to ask questions. During the whole process of Tang Ying's questioning, Qin Guang did not say a word. He hid the disgust and distrust in his heart deeply and only looked at the woman coldly. The examination results would only come out tomorrow. No matter how good Tang Ying was today, she could not get any substantial information from him. It was just a very simple and casual conversation between the new doctor and the patient. Dr. Ma hurriedly left halfway through the conversation. Before he left, he only said goodbye and said happily, "I'll leave the rest to you." Chapter 151. He watched as Tang Ying led a large group of people around the ward, talking to one patient after another, and then instructing the assistants or interns behind her to hand her the examination reports one after another. She then looked at the reports while chatting with the patients. Chen Guang did not say a word from the beginning to the end. A thought was running through his mind. No, I must replace her. I can't put my mother's life in the hands of an alcoholic woman. She's still so young. God knows if she exchanged her education with her beauty. God knows if the CEO of Google really wanted to hire her for $1 million. Maybe she was hired because of her beauty. I don't trust her from the bottom of my heart. Originally, Chen Guang planned to leave at 9 o'clock. In the end, even though his father had repeatedly urged him to leave, he still made him sit in the ward until 10 o'clock. Only then did Tang Ying finish talking to each patient one by one. In fact, Qin Guang's guess was right. Dr. Ma's admission to Moorlands Medical College was indeed due to Tang Ying's efforts. Back then, she got herself drunk because she had just returned from abroad and was planning to make a name for herself in the country. However, she was ostracized by a group of senior doctors in Wujing City Hospital. She stayed in the hospital for a whole 2 months, but she was not assigned to see patients even once, nor was she assigned to the inpatient department. Instead, she was ordered around by a group of senior doctors all day long, just like those interns who had just graduated in the country. Yes, those interns are also doctors, and I'm also a doctor. But how can my status be the same as theirs? How can they treat me like this? Any one of the team I lead in the United States will be treated as a VIP by you old people here. You'll call me an expert. Just because I'm yellow and I'm from the country, I'm the youngest genius doctor in Moorlands Medical College. But when I come back to the country, I have to be suppressed by your qualifications. I'm not convinced. I've had enough of this feeling of seniority. So that day, Tang Ying directly flipped the table during the meeting. She was in an extremely bad mood, and for the first time, she got herself drunk. She was lucky that she didn't fall into Qin Guang's hands. If someone else flipped the table in public like this, they might not be able to stay in the hospital anymore. Fortunately, she was Tang Ying. Then, Tang Ying decided to fight for something and set her sights on the good old Dr. Ma in the hospital. Dr. Ma had been working in the hospital for more than 10 years. Perhaps it was because of his limited talent that he was not good at currying favor. He was still the most ordinary attending physician, and he was still far away from becoming an associate professor. This target was neither too high nor too low, which was just right. Therefore, Tang Ying personally went to look for her mentor in the United States and used her connections in the team to get Dr. Ma to join her. She was not trying to harm Dr. Ma. Anyone in the hospital who wanted to improve their academic level would not let go of the opportunity to further their studies in Moorlands. It was hard to say how much they could learn, but it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. After getting such a great benefit from Tang Ying, Dr. Ma also braced himself and forcefully transferred all the patients under his name to Tang Ying under quite a lot of pressure. That was why the current scene happened. Sure enough, when she left the ward and returned to the doctor's office, Chen Guang immediately followed her. He stood in front of her and looked at her knowingly. "Hello, Dr. Tang. I want to talk to you." As expected, when she left the ward and returned to the doctor's office, Chen Guang immediately followed her. He stood in front of her and looked at her knowingly. "Hello, Dr. Tang. I want to talk to you." Sure enough, when she left the ward and returned to the doctor's office, Chen Guang immediately followed her. He stood directly in front of her and looked at her with a tacit understanding. "Hello, Dr. Tang. I want to talk to you." Tang Ying stood up. Hearing his tone, she forced a smile and said, "Well, I also want to talk to you. It's not very convenient here. Let's talk outside." He also wanted to try to change his face, but when he thought of his mother's illness, he really couldn't be happy. He couldn't care less about what other people did, but he absolutely couldn't allow this woman to tie his mother's life to her chariot and help her rise to power. The two went straight to the flower bed downstairs. Before Tang Ying said anything, Chen Guang said first, "I know you're still thinking about what happened that day, but it's over. What I want to talk about is something else. Wait, whether you accept it or not, I still want to apologize to you." Tang Ying guessed that he would have this attitude, and she also guessed what he wanted to say next, so she directly interrupted him. "There's another thing. I'll apologize to you first, but I really hope that my mother can be replaced by another attending physician." Chen Guang said with a cold expression as he ignored Su Tao's apology. Tang Ying's body trembled slightly. Even though she had already guessed that he would make this request, when he really said it, Tang Ying still felt very uncomfortable, but more than that, she was angry. It's fine to be pushed aside by the senior doctors in the hospital, but now that I've finally made a name for myself, what right do you have to question my ability? Even if it's because of what happened that day, I'm naturally a head shorter than you, but my medical skills are absolutely not to be looked down upon by anyone. Anger gradually accumulated in her heart, and Tang Ying's breathing became heavy. "What? Are you angry? Let me tell you. I'm even angrier. I don't care how you became that Dr. Moorlands, and I don't care how you convinced Dr. Ma to transfer my mother's patients to you. It's not important to me. I just want to change my mother's attending physician." Tang Ying was angry, but Chen Guang was even angrier than her. Tang Ying clenched her fists tightly. She wanted to punch Chen Guang in the face, but she still held back because she owed him. But she didn't want to compromise. "I don't agree. I know your mother's condition very well. In the entire Wujing city, there is no doctor more suitable than me. It seems that if I don't give you face, you really won't give up, right? That's my mother's life. How dare I put my mother's life in the hands of an alcoholic woman like you? God knows if you'll get drunk one day and randomly prescribe medicine for my mother. God knows if you'll leave a pair of scissors in my mother's stomach during the operation. I don't care about anything else. That day when you mistook me for a pervert, I can also understand. Any woman would have the same thoughts as you at that time. But for today's matter, I will not take a single step back. Chin, don't go too far. Even if I really feel guilty because of that." Tang Ying spoke loudly. She opened her hands and leaned her neck forward, venting her anger to her heart's content. "If you really feel guilty, then do me a big favor and change my mother to Professor Lu. Just take it as I'm begging you. Do a good deed and return this little favor to me, okay?" Chen Guang once again interrupted her. Chapter 152. Tang Ying was dumbfounded. She realized that there was no way she could convince this boy who was as violent as a lion, because she couldn't refute Chen Guang's words. I know I'm asking for too much. Professor Lu is a famous doctor. Our deputy mayor's illness was the same as my mother's, and he was the one who cured him. We wanted to see Professor Lu before, but he didn't accept us. Later, we met Dr. Ma. Fortunately, he was also very responsible. But this time, I really can't trust you. As he spoke, Chen Guang gnashed his teeth with tears welling up in his eyes. But he forced himself to hold on. Even if you're angry, I understand. I'm only begging you to help me with this matter. You and Professor Lu are colleagues, right? If you help me put in a good word for me, this might work out. If I can get Professor Lu's help, my mother's condition will be better. It doesn't matter if Professor Lu's fee is higher, I have money. I can make money. A lot of money. I don't lack money. Chen Guang thought of the Patek Philippe watch that was temporarily in Jiang Ye's hands, and he felt a sense of relief. Tang Ying stared at him for a long time, and her face gradually dimmed. She silently turned her head to the side. Okay, I'll help you. This little boy, he didn't even study, and now he's standing in front of me and saying he's rich. Fine, I admit defeat today. Chen Guang was overjoyed. He had been looking forward to this moment ever since he met this woman. Professor Lu was the chief expert in the nephrology department of Wujing City Hospital. His medical skills were well known, but ordinary patients couldn't come into contact with him for a long time. Asking Tang Ying for help was a desperate attempt. Of course, even if he couldn't get Professor Lu, Chen Guang would still find another doctor. But I won't completely quit your mother's treatment group. I will be Professor Lu's assistant. Tang Ying said again. By now, Chen Guang was already in ecstasy, and he didn't care so much. Thank you so much. Shall we go talk to the chief about this? Don't worry, Tang Ying, have always been a man of my word. This kind of thing, the patient's family members can't convince the director. I'll go myself. Seeing him instantly turn from rage to wild joy, Tang Ying couldn't help but feel a sense of powerlessness in his heart. Who was to blame for this? Was Chen Guang wrong? He wasn't wrong. After that kind of mishap happened between them, it was reasonable for him to completely lose confidence in this overly young returning professor. Was he wrong again? Of course, even though Tang Ying wasn't arrogant, she was sure that she wasn't any worse than Professor Lu. In fact, she was even better at modern treatment concepts. Now that things have come to this, it can only be fate making a fool out of me. Who told me to get drunk just once in my life and fall into his hands? Sigh, I brought this upon myself. This time, I'm going to make a fool of myself. If someone else asked Professor Lu to take on another patient, they would most likely be rejected. However, if it was Tang Ying, he would definitely agree. This was because Professor Lu was the most authoritative person among the senior doctors who had pushed him aside. However, Professor Lu helped his patient find Professor Lu, and the patient even wanted to replace Professor Lu, but Professor Lu agreed. This was probably what Professor Lu wanted. This meant that he, the arrogant professor who had just returned from abroad, had lowered his head to him. Tang Ying let out another sigh. What a sin in life. Chen Guang was in a great mood. Seeing that Tang Ying didn't look like she was going to regret her decision, he felt like this was a blessing in disguise. If it weren't for Dr. Ma and Tang Ying, there was no way he would be able to get into Professor Lu's patients. Even if you're such an amazing returning doctor, I still only trust Professor Lu. Dr. Tang, I was a little too emotional just now. How about I treat you to supper as an apology? Chen Guang slightly turned his head and secretly wiped the tears from his eyes. He then turned his head back and smiled. Tang Ying felt like she lost to him. You're a man, you change your attitude faster than flipping a book. She angrily stared at Chen Guang and said, Don't act like you're the one who took advantage of me. I'm on duty right now, I can't be bothered with you. I'm going back to my room, you can stay wherever you want. Anyways, I'll switch your mother's room with Professor Lu's special care unit tomorrow, okay? But I have to warn you, The cost of the special care unit isn't low. If you can't handle it, you'll have to switch back to my room. It's up to you. Tang Ying resisted the urge to step on this guy. She put her hands in the pocket of her white coat and stomped upstairs in her high heels. Chen Guang wasn't in a hurry to leave. Instead, he excitedly rushed upstairs. He ran faster than Tang Ying. He went back to his room and told his parents that he would be switching to Professor Lu's room tomorrow. Even though Chen Guoli and Feng Rong felt like there was something fishy going on, they were overjoyed. Professor Lu was an evergreen doctor, so they were overjoyed. The next day, when Chen Guang came back to the hospital, his mother had already been switched to a special care unit. Tang Ying and Professor Lu were in the room, asking about his mother's well-being. When Chen Guang looked at Tang Ying again, he felt like she was pleasing to the eye from every angle. What if she got drunk and vomited all over his car? What if this woman got a PhD because of her beauty? What if she forced Dr. Ma to take over his position? None of this was important. If she really got Professor Lu here, then everything would be fine. In the afternoon, the test reports came out one after another. Chen Guang ran up and down with a thick stack of test reports in his hand. He stood outside Professor Lu's office and suddenly became nervous. He came alone and didn't tell his father that he had all the reports. He pushed the door open and heard Professor Lu scolding Tang Ying. "Xiao Tang, I know you young people are impulsive, but everything has to be done step by step. Although Dr. Ma has been making slow progress in the past few years, he is still one of the mainstays of our hospital. You suddenly took over all of his shifts. How is it? You're a little flustered, aren't you?" Professor Lu is right. I was too impatient, Tang Ying said in a muffled voice. "Young man, you're still not convinced. When I have dinner with your father, I'll ask him to reprimand you. Even though you're a rare genius, you still have to calm down. The hospital isn't like your school, and it's definitely not like your home. You can't do whatever you want. This time, you took over all of Dr. Ma's patients. A lot of people are complaining, and I'm the one who helped you out. Don't look at me lecturing you like everyone else, as if I'm purposely making things difficult for you. I'm doing this for your own good. Got it, Professor Lu? If there's nothing else, I'll leave first. The patient's test reports are coming out soon. I have to wait." Tang Ying turned around and her face immediately fell. She rolled her eyes and wrinkled her nostrils. She was full of displeasure. When she turned around, Chen Guang saw her strange expression. Chapter 153. Tang Ying was pissed when she saw Chen Guang. "It's all your fault. Otherwise, why would I come here to teach him a lesson?" When she walked past him, she rolled her eyes at him. Chen Guang was reading the report in his hand. He was not in the mood to argue with her because there were too many plus signs in this thick pile of reports. Although there were still some reports that would take a few more days to come out, based on what they had so far, they could already see some signs. The situation is not good? Professor Lu's office was not as crowded as an ordinary doctor's office. There were only him and an assistant. After all, Professor Lu was usually only responsible for a few patients. Chen Guang looked at Professor Lu quietly. Professor Lu was carefully reading the test report line by line. Chen Guang tried to see the change in his expression but failed. This old man had been immersed in medicine for many years. He did not show his emotions in front of patients or their families. After Professor Lu finished reading, he looked up and asked, "Young man, which family member of the patient are you?" Chen Guang quickly answered, "I'm Feng Rong's son. My name is Chen Guang." "Oh, hello, Chen Guang. Here's the thing. I've read these reports, but there are still a few that haven't come out yet. I'll read them later. Let's do the analysis first," Professor Lu said calmly. Chen Guang could not help but ask, "Professor Lu, has my mother's condition worsened?" Professor Lu paused for a second and seemed to hesitate. He looked at Chen Guang's worried eyes and said, "Young man, I'll give you a heads up. But don't let the patient know. If possible, arrange a kidney transplant as soon as possible." Chen Guang felt his body go soft. How could this be? Puss Corporation's special medicine has never stopped. So many people say that the medicine is very effective. Why can't it work on my mother? Professor Lu's face was still calm. He smiled and patted Qin Guang's arm as he said, "Everyone's physique is different. Even the best medicine doesn't have a fixed effect. Young man, don't get too excited. Although the situation isn't ideal, it's not that bad either. It never hurts to prepare early." Professor Lu, even though that's the case, the transplant matching information has already been submitted. If I could, I would have done it a long time ago. It's my own transplant match that failed. Otherwise, I would have donated my kidney. Although Professor Lu said it calmly, Qin Guang was not at ease. Professor Lu rubbed his forehead and patted Qin Guang's shoulder. He said, "If I knew you were this impatient, I wouldn't have told you this. I'm asking you to prepare early because I hope that once a suitable kidney source is found, your family will be able to afford the corresponding expenses immediately. Don't let any accidents happen because of the cost. Don't let you worry for nothing, understand?" Qin Guang walked out of Professor Lu's office in a daze. He thought about it carefully and realized that he didn't say anything. He was just scaring himself. As for the financial problem that Professor Lu mentioned, Qin Guang had the Patek Philippe in his heart, so he wasn't too worried. After walking a few steps, he happened to see Tang Ying walking out of his mother's ward. She was holding the lab report in her hand. Qin Guang was a little tempted. He wanted to go find Tang Ying, but he felt awkward. After Tang Ying went back to her office, he made up his mind. No matter how good her medical skills were, no matter how much he offended her, he had to put everything aside in front of his mother's condition. Qin Guang mustered up his courage and stood in front of Tang Ying. Tang Ying looked at this young man's awkward expression and remembered how domineering he was last night. She felt proud of herself. No matter how talented she was still young. "What, you don't trust my medical skills? Why did you put the report in front of me again?" Seeing that there was no one else in the office, Tang Ying whispered to Qin Guang in a voice that only Qin Guang could hear. Qin Guang's hand shrank back, and he almost wanted to take the report and leave. However, Tang Ying snatched it from him and said, all right. Let's forget about the past. You saw what happened today. I embarrassed myself in front of Mr. Lu for helping you. But I'm your mother's deputy chief physician, this is my job." Tang Ying looked at the report as she spoke. As she looked at it, her face became a little gloomy. Under normal circumstances, she could barely hide her emotions in front of the patient's family. However, too many things had happened between her and Qin Guang. They couldn't be considered friends, but they were too close to be enemies. Their relationship was very complicated. Is there a problem? Qin Guang's heart tightened again. Tang Ying didn't answer him. Instead, she looked at the report again before she finally said, "After the dialysis, don't leave the hospital yet. I hope we can find a suitable kidney as soon as possible." Qin Guang's face turned pale in an instant. How could it be? Tang Ying looked around before she said again, "Don't be too nervous. The situation isn't at its worst yet. It's only because of you that I'm telling you the truth so early. Anyway, just wait patiently. Don't let it slip in front of the patient." Qin Guang couldn't remember how he got back to his mother's ward, nor did he know what he talked about with his parents with a smile on his face. His memory of the previous hours seemed to have gone blank. When his father asked him about the report, he only said that it wasn't out yet. At that moment, he was sitting alone on the rooftop of the hospital building. He looked up at the sky and suddenly took out the heavenly Holy Grail from his bag. He shook it with all his might and shouted, "Liuli! Liuli! Come out right now." In fact, Qin Guang should have thought of this a long time ago. Unfortunately, the time he had to communicate with Liuli was too short. After entering the world in the cup, everything seemed so rushed. This woman especially liked to talk with her fists, so it was seriously difficult to communicate. Now that things had become serious, Qin Guang couldn't hold back anymore. At that moment, Liuli was watching Hikari happily. How could she be in the mood to pay attention to Qin Guang? She was about to pretend that she was offline when she suddenly sensed that Qin Guang's mind was in a very abnormal state. She was afraid that something would really happen if he held back, so she quickly appeared in his mind. As soon as Liuli, who was shrouded in white mist, appeared, Qin Guang shouted in his mind, "Liuli, help me. Save my mom." Qin Guang had never used this tone to beg anyone. She had never acted like this since she got along with Lioli. She was stunned and realized one thing. It seemed that she cared too little about this savior, so much so that she didn't notice such an important thing around him. Chapter 154. I already know about your mother's situation. You're the God Emperor, you must have a way, right? I'm sorry. I can't do it, at least I can't do anything now. Chen Guang was stunned. Why? Aren't you some incredible God Emperor from the endless God realm? You can't even cure someone's illness? Then what kind of God Emperor are you? What use do I have for you and this heavenly sage Grail? Lioli sighed faintly. If I wasn't trapped in the heavenly sage Grail, let alone cure someone, I could even create an immortal body for your family. But I really can't do it now. The heavenly sage Grail's level is too low, my divine power is too weak, whether it's hypnotizing you or controlling Wu Tong's emotions, I've already consumed a lot of my divine power, the effects can't last long. Asking me to cure your mother sounds simple, but it's equivalent to me creating a new body. It's not something the heavenly sage Grail can support. Then you mean that as long as the heavenly sage Grail is upgraded, I can cure someone? Then quickly give me the world in the cup. How many levels do I have to upgrade to? Say it. No matter how dangerous it is, I'll do it. Chen Guang gritted his teeth, clenched his fists, and roared at the heavenly sage Grail while shouting in his heart. No way, it's impossible. Creating a new body is equivalent to creating a living being. It requires at least the 5th level of the heavenly sage Grail, the heavenly solar Grail to barely support it. It's much more difficult than your modern medical methods. Besides, to upgrade the heavenly sage Grail, you have to complete the test step by step. How can this be? Aren't you a god? Aren't the so-called gods able to destroy the world with a breath? Chen Guang, you should know, right? Creation is much more difficult than destruction. Didn't I already say, my divine power is at this level, I really can't help you. Don't say that nonsense. Let's upgrade. Quickly upgrade. Are you stupid? Didn't I just say, the test of the 3,000 worlds can only be done step by step. Every time I prepare the world in the cup for you, you have to wait for the heavenly sage Grail to recover its energy. It takes time. You can't rush this, I can't do anything. Chen Guang threw the heavenly holy Grail onto the ground. Emperor of the Azure knew that he was angry at this time. She rolled her eyes and didn't want to argue with him, but changed the topic. But I have another idea about what you're talking about. I wonder if you're interested in listening? It's much easier than treating someone with my own hands, but the effect is about the same. Holy shit. There was a way. Why didn't you say so earlier? Chen Guang pounced on the Holy Grail like a hungry tiger. He picked up the Holy Grail and kissed it, caressed it, and wiped it like it was a treasure. My little sweetheart, forgive me for my slip just now. Tell me if you have any ideas. Hurry up and say it. Chen Guang tried to please her while pretending to slap himself. Save it. I saw through your character the first time I laid eyes on you. You're an ingrate who won't release the eagle until you see the rabbit. Let me tell you, the 3,000 worlds in the heavenly Holy Grail aren't all testing worlds. There are some special existences. It's just that you didn't need it before, so I didn't say it. I originally planned to let you go through each stage step by step, but now that you've been forced into this situation, I have no choice but to take out this trump card in advance. Hurry up and say it. Don't keep me in suspense. There's a realm in the 3,000 worlds that hides the Bell of Fate. It's called the Realm of Fate. This Realm of Fate is not within the 9 heavens. It's extraordinary and powerful. If you can reach the peak of this realm and ring the Bell of Fate, you can control fate. Control fate. These 4 words kept echoing in Chen Guang's mind. Fate was so mysterious. It was hidden in the void, but it controlled the billions of lives in the world. Even if it was an ant, from the moment it was born to the moment it died on the road, it was all affected by this invisible fate. Today, Chen Guang finally understood the terror of the heavenly Holy Grail. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that it was a divine weapon. Send me to the realm of fate. I want to ring the bell of fate and reverse my mother's destiny. Dream on. With your current level, If you dare to force your way into the realm of life, I can guarantee that before your feet even touch the ground, you'll be dead without even a speck of dust left. Chen Guang was furious. Then what's the use of telling me about the realm of fate? Can we have a pleasant conversation? Of course it's useful. You won't be able to barge into the realm of fate, but I can draw out a tiny strand of the power of fate from within. It's impossible to directly reverse a terminally ill person's destiny. If you want to reverse fate, you have to stand in front of the bell of fate and ring it with your own hands. But even this tiny strand of the power of fate can cause two people who were originally destined to be unrelated to each other to cross paths. Because there's an inevitability in the fate of these two people. The power of fate can create coincidences in the destinies of these two people. Chen Guang was shocked. You mean? That's right. I'll draw the power of fate and attach it to your mother. This mysterious power will cause her to cross paths with another terminally ill patient with a brain tumor. Then the kidney transplant index will be almost perfect. Because these two people really exist in this world. My power of fate is nothing more than making the terminally ill patient with a brain tumor want to donate her organs. In her life, she can choose to donate or not. It's all up to her. Won't this bring your mother back from the dead? Liu Li's words were like 10,000 thunders, ringing in Chen Guang's mind. He was like a drowning man struggling for his life when he suddenly grabbed a swimming ring. Chen Guang was ecstatic. Let's do it. Let's do it. Hee, do you really think it's that simple? Let's not talk about the divine power I'll use to draw the power of fate. Do you really think that there's no price for manipulating other people's fates? No matter what the price is, I can accept it. The ignorant are truly fearless. Cut the crap. I'll do it even if the sky falls. Otherwise, I'll bang my head against the wall and let you find another savior. Since you've made up your mind, I won't persuade you anymore. But I still have to let you know in advance that there will be karma when you touch the bell of fate. Your next world in the cup will no longer be a simple test world. It will be a world of punishment derived from the world of fate. It'll be a narrow escape. I'll do it even if it's a narrow escape. Chen Guang was sure that he had Liu Li in his heart. What am I afraid of? She's just trying to scare me. Since she's willing to say it, no matter how scary it is, I definitely won't die. The savior can only be me. Chapter 155. Sigh, it was also a pity. If such a domineering and dazzling power of destiny could only be used once, it would be too disappointing. So, Chen Guang asked again, right after using the power of destiny this time, can I still use it later? Of course, he would have to use it repeatedly. Go ahead and build as much as you can. This time, I've drawn out a little bit of the power of destiny. Its realm of punishment will only be based on the strength of the power of destiny I use. Do it again? That will be a punishment that's 10 times stronger than the normal standard. I'm not joking with you. At that level, I really won't be able to protect you. Alright. It seems like your family's skills are all one-time use. Anyway, thank you very much. Just do your best to break through the barriers. When the level of the heavenly Holy Grail is raised, everything will be fine. To be honest, up until now, the old man has never tasted defeat in the realm of the cup. Isn't this slow leveling up your fault? Yes, it's all my fault. While they were joking, Azure suddenly changed the topic. She suddenly roared in Chen Guang's mind. Stop talking nonsense. Hurry up and prepare to enter my realm of the cup. Just as Chen Guang was about to ask her what she wanted to do, he felt a terrifying suction force suddenly emerge from the heavenly Holy Grail in his hand, tearing his mind apart. Different from the past, the suction force this time seemed to contain a majestic aura. After touching it, Chen Guang felt as though he was standing under Mount Everest, like an ant facing the towering mountain peak. How domineering, how majestic. Even if it was just a fleeting touch, it still made Chen Guang feel as though he was worshipping the other party. If it wasn't for the familiar aura that surged out from the heavenly Holy Grail at the crucial moment to protect Chen Guang's mind, he would probably be prostrating on the ground at this moment. Was this the aura of the realm of fate? In the unseen world, Chen Guang's hollow eyes looked forward. It was as if he had passed through endless time and space. In an unimaginably distant place, he saw a huge bell that could support the heavens and the earth. It floated in the air, connected to the top of the clouds in the sky, and suppressed the rivers, mountains, and seas below. It rotated slowly, but when it rotated, it seemed to affect the circulation of the sun, moon, and stars in the sky, and a feeling of great power arose spontaneously. A towering, majestic, and domineering aura was constantly spreading out from the giant bell. Heaven and earth, this world existed because of the existence of this bell, and it revolved because of the rotation of this bell. On the surface of the giant bronze bell, there were countless mysterious runes. Light flowed on every rune and spread out in all directions, illuminating every corner of this world. There seemed to be countless cities in the mountains and rivers below, as well as countless strange beasts and birds. Above the city, existences that looked like gods and humans were flying on swords or riding on clouds. The giant beast walked on the plains, stepping on broken streams, breathing out clouds. Birds flew above the clouds, their wings spanning tens of thousands of feet, and they soared for 90,000 miles. The terrifying realm of fate. The terrifying bell of fate. What kind of existence is this? How will I be able to reach the pinnacle of this incomparably vast realm of fate? How will I be able to stand proudly in front of this bell of fate? How will I be able to wield such a terrifying power in order to ring this bell of fate that surpasses the entire world? With these thoughts in mind, Chen Guang was pulled into the realm of fate. Liuli, what the hell is going on? Chen Guang kept shouting, but he didn't stop in the sea of clouds. Instead, he was pulled by Liuli, who stretched out her snow-white arm and flew forward, breaking through the space and being pushed forward. You ask me what the hell is going on? I can't directly enter the realm of fate. You are the master of the Supreme Grail, and I have to use you as a catalyst to open the passage to the realm of fate. Brat, prepare yourself, I'll let you see the true power of this bell of fate. Let's see if you dare to think about it a second time. Before Liuli's voice faded, Chen Guang felt the back of his head being grabbed by someone and pushed forward. His face hit the end of the space-time tunnel. At the peak of the clouds in the realm of fate, an extremely small face suddenly appeared. It was Chen Guang's face. Chen Guang opened his eyes wide and stared fiercely at the bell of fate in front of him, which was extremely far away, but because it was so huge, it seemed to be within reach. At this moment, the originally calm realm of fate seemed to shake violently. Although there were no changes on the bell of fate, Chen Guang suddenly had a feeling that he had been discovered. The billions of creatures in the city below and the trillions of birds and beasts outside the city suddenly stopped what they were doing and turned their heads in the direction of Chen Guang. Countless gazes converged together, and under the control of the bell of fate, they turned into a colossus that traversed the heavens and the earth. With an astonishing momentum, it swept through the realm of fate. The sky and earth changed color, and thousands of thunderbolts exploded, as if to vent the hostility of the bell of fate towards the intruder. Chen Guang only had one feeling: I am being targeted by fate. At this moment, he felt his back being pulled by someone, and he flew backward. His face was out of the range of the realm of fate. The bell of fate. I am the emperor of the azure of the endless divine realm, the supreme deity of Liuli divine kingdom, the descendant of the master god of chaos. Heed my command. Lend me a wisp of the power of fate. As he floated past Liuli, Chen Guang saw Liuli, who was naked but surrounded by thousands of rays of light, fiercely stab her left hand into the hole that she had just made in her face. When she shouted the divine emperor's decree, she seemed to have temporarily revealed the true form of the divine emperor. Under the pressure of the bell of fate and the true form of the divine emperor, even with the protection of the aura of the heavenly holy grail, Chen Guang's vision darkened, and he completely lost consciousness. Before he lost consciousness, there was a vague consciousness in his mind. This is too terrifying. Really too terrifying. When he faintly woke up, he was still standing on the rooftop, holding the heavenly holy grail wrapped in a double-layered cup cover, and looking up at the bright moon and stars in the sky. It seemed that only a short moment had passed. But in the bottom of his heart, there was an inexplicable sense of silence. Slowly lowering his head, looking at the unremarkable cup in his hand, Chen Guang felt as if he had been in another world. It was just a glimpse, but it was as if he had seen a whole world that was completely beyond his imagination. But this was only one of the 3,000 worlds in the heavenly Holy Grail. If it weren't for the fact that this cup was in my hand, and that there was a vague feeling of blood connection with me, I really wouldn't dare to believe that I was the owner of this cup. How inconceivable! The Emperor of the Azure disappeared again. As for what she did afterward, Chen Guang wasn't clear. He only vaguely felt that the biluacun in the cup tasted a little sweeter than usual. Oh, I seem to have accidentally seen something I shouldn't have. Lioli's small buttocks are white, and the shape is also very beautiful. Her waist is also very slender. Alas, it's a pity that I couldn't turn around in time to see her face. It's a great regret in my life. Little brat, I advise you to forget what you saw just now, if you don't want to die. You tired me out, and not only do you not know how to thank me, you actually took advantage of me in your heart. Damn it. Lioli's slightly tired voice suddenly came from the bottom of his heart. Chen Guang's whole body quivered, and his heart that had just been hanging in suspense suddenly calmed down. It's fine as long as she's fine. Like I said, it's just a mere bell of fate. How could the Emperor of the Azure be so easily killed? She is the Divine Emperor. In short, thank you, Lioli, it's really good to have you. Chapter 156. When he returned to the ward, he told his parents about Professor Lu's judgment and told them to wait patiently for the dialysis. When Chen Guang went out, his father came out as well. Xiao Guang, is the situation really that optimistic? Chen Guoli knew his son best. When he saw the joy on Chen Guang's face, there was no way he could contain himself. After a brief pondering, Chen Guang felt that he couldn't reveal this matter to his father, so he replied, "It's neither good nor bad. But I have no idea what's going on, but I feel that something good is about to happen. Perhaps the wish I made to the heavens last night is about to come true." Chen Guoli was stunned. He knew that his son didn't believe in ghosts and gods. He patted Chen Guang's shoulder and said, "It's been hard on you. I hope your good mood will bring you good luck." When it was evening, Chen Guang was carrying bags of food upstairs when he saw Tang Ying rushing out of the office. "Chen Guang!" Tang Ying shouted as soon as she saw him. Tang Ying's face was filled with joy. It was a smile that came from the bottom of her heart. Chen Guang could vaguely guess why she was happy. He thought to himself, putting aside all of her shortcomings, she's actually a good person. Well, isn't that obvious? As long as she's a normal person, putting aside all her shortcomings, she's a good person. Dr. Tang, what's the matter? Chen Guang stood still and quietly waited for Tang Ying to tell him the result he was expecting. Even though he was mentally prepared, he still couldn't feel at ease until the dust settled. It wasn't that he didn't trust Lu Li, it was just that this matter was too important. "I just received news that a brain tumor patient from Southeast Province is willing to donate her organ. I've already asked the matching center to send your mother's lymphocytes and other materials over overnight. We'll have the final result in a few days." Actually, Tang Ying was quite conservative. When she first saw the information, she almost thought that her eyes were playing tricks on her. If she didn't know that Feng Rong didn't have any sisters, she would have thought that the person in front of her was Feng Rong's twin sister. She stared at the patient for a long time. Even though she had yet to perform the lymphocyte toxicity test, the human leukocyte antigen A system test, and the group reactive antibody test, with her knowledge, she was 100% certain that there was a terminally ill patient who could save Feng Rong's life in the Southeast Province thousands of miles away. One life, one death. One happy, one sad. The life of the brain tumor patient was about to come to an end. It was indeed a pity, but the choice she had just made could bring hope to another person. Chen Guang laughed. He laughed ruthlessly. He had imagined the power of Lu Li's power of destiny and thought that he might have to wait for a few days, but he really didn't expect that the good news would come so quickly. In one day, he went from great sorrow to great joy. His mind went up and down several times, drifting erratically. It wasn't until this moment that he finally calmed down. "I don't know what to say, but I really thank you." Tang Ying smugly punched his chest heavily. Consider it as repaying what you owe me. I'm going to do my ward rounds. Remember, don't tell the patient for the time being. Just let your father know. The patient's mood needs to be stable. It's not good to be happy or sad. Oh, by the way, is there any problem with the kidney transplant? The hospital's expenses aren't big, but the donor's side, there must be some. Money is not a problem. No problem at all. I understand this, it's what I should do. Chen Guang nodded heavily. Tang Ying suddenly reached out her sleeve and wiped his face. All right. I'm leaving. Kid, don't you realize that tears are coming out of your eyes? After Tang Ying walked away, Chen Guang touched his face. Really, it was a bit embarrassing. But everything was fine. With Professor Lu and a highly compatible kidney, Chen Guang clenched his fists. It's a done deal. As long as the surgery is successful, my mother can live a normal life. Chen Guoli found a chance to tell his father about it, and Chen Guoli was also in ecstasy. The problem of the kidney was solved, but another matter suddenly appeared in front of the father and son. Although donating a kidney was a good deed, this kind of great kindness couldn't be simply thanked. Including the other treatment and recovery costs, it would be impossible to support it without at least 500,000 yuan. Previously, Chen Guang had already transferred 220,000 yuan to Chen Guoli. 20,000 yuan was used to pay for the special medicine, so there was still 200,000 yuan left in his bank account. This bank account wasn't under Chen Guoli's name. Instead, it was under Chen Guang's uncle's name. The Chen family was still in the bankruptcy liquidation period, and they were still in debt. Chen Guoli's bank account was like a bottomless pit. No matter how much money went in, it would be frozen until the debt was paid off. Just do as I said before. Sell the house under your uncle's name. Now the housing prices in our hometown have risen quite a bit. It can probably be sold for more than 4,000 yuan per square meter. That's 300,000 yuan in total. If it's still not enough, I'll scrape together some money and borrow some more. Leaning on the edge of the rooftop, Chen Guoli fiercely took a drag of his cigarette and said. Chen Guang shook his head and said, "That house can't be sold. Don't worry about money, I have a plan." What plan do you have? You're just a little kid. I haven't even asked you how you got the money from last time. What did you do? Why do I feel like 180,000 yuan fell from the sky? I almost fainted at that time. Chen Guoli finally remembered. Chen Guang thought about it. Since he couldn't hide it any longer, he told him the truth, starting from when he saved people in the lake, to his cameo appearance in Big Beard Deng's movie, and his bet with Zhouya. Apart from the Holy Grail and Azure Glaze, he recounted everything else in great detail. He felt that this long series of stories was reasonable and convincing. Unexpectedly, Chen Guoli widened his eyes and looked him up and down for a long time. If I remember correctly, you've been a non-swimmer since you were young, right? This joke of yours isn't funny at all. In his heart, Chen Guang thought, you still don't know that your son has already turned into a beggar. With a mysterious smile on his face, Chen Guang picked up the cup and drank a mouthful of water. Don't tell me you're being kept by a rich woman? Chen Guang's saliva sprayed all over Chen Guoli's body. He couldn't believe that a father would say something like that to his son. When he thought about it again and realized that this was Chen Guang's father, he immediately understood. You asked me, so I told you. Even if I told you, you wouldn't believe me. What can I do? Chen Guang said through gritted teeth as he wiped his mouth. Chen Guoli didn't continue to harp on this matter. Let's just say that what you said is true. God knows how lucky you are. But there's still a gap of 300,000 yuan. You can't go and make another cameo, right? Who would be so stupid as to make a bet with you? Don't worry about that. Anyway, the house can't be sold. There's still a house. At least we still have a home. I don't want you and Mom to be old and still have to rent a house and run around. Money. I'll go find it. It's a deal. I've listened to you since we were young. This time, you listen to me. Chen Guang was, of course, confident. After all, he had Patek Philippe in his hands. Chapter 157. In the end, Chen Guoli still failed to beat Chen Guang. Chen Guang won the first great victory against Laozi. The father and son adjusted their mood for a long time before they dared to go back to the ward. Although it was a happy event, it was not the time to tell Feng Rong. Feng Rong's sharp eyes vaguely saw something, but she knew that the two of them would not say it even if she asked, so she did not ask. She just wanted to make things difficult for them. After 9 o'clock, Chen Guang was driven out of the ward by Chen Guoli. He had to go to school on Monday tomorrow. Chen Guoli said that he would take care of him here, so there was no need to worry. He asked Chen Guang not to abandon his studies. Sitting in the car, Chen Guang held the phone in his hand and hesitated a little. The number displayed on the phone was Jean Shiyue's number. He had never taken the initiative to ask for Patek Philippe before. To put it bluntly, it was because of his face. But at this time, he had to put his face aside. He knew that the watch was with Jiang Yage, but he was really afraid of the woman who said, "I like you, and my light," to flirt with him. There was a beeping sound from the phone. Chen Guang did not know what the person on the other side of the phone was doing. He could not help but feel uneasy. It was already night. Would they sleep? Hello? Hello, is this Chen Guang? The phone was suddenly connected, and Jean Shiyue's gentle voice came from it. It sounded soft and seemed to be a little sleepy. Suddenly, there was another scream from the side. Is it Brother Chen Guang's phone call? Let me do it. There was another click sound from the phone, and the person on the phone was replaced by Jiang Yage. Chen Guang had a headache. If it was Jean Shiyue, he could try to ask for Patek Philippe in a calmer tone, but he really did not know how to open his mouth when it came to this woman, Jiang Yage. Unexpectedly, Jiang Yage took the initiative to say, "Brother Chen Guang, do you want to ask about that watch? How could you be so direct? Where do you expect the old man to hide his modesty?" "Oh yes, I wanted to ask when you guys are free. I'll come over to look for you." He couldn't be courteous with them anymore. If he continued to be courteous, something bad would really happen. But Sister Shiyue and I are overseas. We finished shooting the scenes in the Wujing film and television city a long time ago. We just went abroad to record songs 2 days ago. Chen Guang's heart sank. When are you coming back? Jiang Yage looked at the time and felt that it was a little difficult to calculate in her head. Jean Shiyue, who was next to her, took the phone back. "Yage, let me do it. Look at how hard it is for you to calculate. Brother Chen Guang, we will be back in no more than a month. After all, it is a new album and it will take a little longer. But after we return to China, we will not arrange other work for the time being. We will come to Wujing to find you first, okay?" Jean Shiyue had said it like this. The big star was busy every day, but she came to find him as soon as she returned to China. What else could Chen Guang say? However, it seemed that it would take a month for the preparation of the kidney transplant to be carried out before the operation could be carried out. For the time being, he would just leave it at that. At the critical moment, there was no time. At that time, he would simply throw away his face and call these two people to exchange the Patek Philippe for cash to save his life. Of course, Chen Guang knew that it was shameless to do this, but so what? Was there anything more important than his mother's life? After chatting with the two people for a while, Chen Guang hung up the phone. He heard that it seemed to be early in the morning, so he didn't want to disturb them. He started the car fiercely and counted the time. There were still 3 hours until 12 o'clock. He might as well run for another 2 hours to earn as much as he could. "Do you think that Brother Guang is sick?" Bai Nyangzi looked at the back of Chen Guang from behind and ridiculed him. The next morning, Chen Guang got up early, which was rare. No longer skipping classes, he went to the teaching building with the other 3 people. At this time, the 4 of them were walking together on the way to school. Lin Jingwei nodded silently. "I think so too. He is very sick." Xiong counted his fingers. Once, twice, 3 times, 99 times. This guy can't walk properly for 99 consecutive steps. That's right. Yesterday, there was some progress on the kidney source, and the required expenses were basically settled. Today, Chen Guang was in a good mood. He felt lighter than usual. As he walked, he felt like he was about to fly. Of course, it was not because he had practiced some peerless martial arts. Yesterday's happy event had been brewing for a whole night. After a refreshing sleep, He completely got rid of the heavy pressure that had accumulated in his heart the day before, and it burst out violently. People were in high spirits when they encountered happy events, so they even skipped when they walked. Chen Guang couldn't help but sing, Xiao Ma, Xiao Erlang, carrying that backpack to school. F***ck. Hurry up and hide. Run away quickly. Lin Jingwei and the other two were shocked. They quickly pulled each other and retreated, trying to stay as far away from Qin Guang as possible. It was too embarrassing to let others know that the four of them were in a group. Gokyo University had a very long bridge between the dormitory area and the teaching building. It spanned across the Yuanming Lake, connecting the students' heaven and hell. People in Jianghu called it the Long Bridge, and the students called it the Bridge of Helplessness. It was a natural moat between the students' first class and sleeping in. Those who were interested in learning something during their 4 years in university hated the Long Bridge to the core because it was too King long. At this time, on the Long Bridge, everyone was looking at the guy who sang the Little Erlang. How much stimulation did he have to go through to sing in public with that broken voice of his? Chen Guang was in a good mood, so he didn't care what others thought of him. He jumped up high again and landed hard on the ground. I'm so proud, so proud. He finally received his retribution. He stepped on a huge piece of banana peel. He didn't know which wicked person threw it at him. The reason why it was called huge was because the banana peel was too big. Whoever threw it was destined to be lonely and have no friends for the rest of his life. Then, Chen Guang slipped after being hit by the banana peel, and his whole body flew to the side. Like a non-professional high jumper, he flew face down over the railing of the Long Bridge and plunged into the Yuanming Lake below. Finally, he hit the water with a splash. From the beginning to the end, the plot had developed too quickly, so he didn't even have time to scream. Oh my God! He's going down! Bai Nyangzi was the first to scream and jump to the side. Xiong'er, the silly guy, laughed so hard that he couldn't stand up straight. Extreme joy turns to sorrow. This was his comeuppance. Lin Jingwei looked at the railing of the Long Bridge and remembered what Chen Guang had said to him many years ago. The railing of this long bridge is only half a person's height. Someone will fall down accidentally, right? Because of Chen Guang's words, Lin Jingwei had been deliberately walking in the middle of the Long Bridge for the past few years, and from time to time, he hoped that someone would really fall down. After waiting for 3 years, this day had finally come. Chen Guang's words came true, and he cursed himself down. As for Chen Guang's safety, no one was worried. After all, everyone knew how powerful he was in the pool. Yuanming Lake was nothing to him. At this moment, Chen Guang had already jumped out of the water. He was holding onto his phone as he howled in pain. Mother****. Damn it. My popcorn forest. What a scam. There was no need to tell others about his miserable state, but those who heard it would be sad and those who saw it would cry. Worse things were happening on the other side. The number you have dialed is unavailable. Please try again later. Zhong Bai hung up the phone and looked at the group of expectant people behind him. He wondered, strange, why can't I get through to Racer God? Chapter 158. He excitedly carried his bag and sang to class, but he slipped back to the dormitory wet. The popcorn forest was already a thing of the past, and the brand new textbook was finally soaked with old tear stains. Chen Guang also gave in to himself. When he thought of the moment he fell into the water, he felt a faint sadness in his heart. Popcorn forest was already a thing of the past. Granny is an errand girl. This time, she is famous again. Naturally, he skipped the morning class with a good reason. First, he turned on the computer and went to the Jingxi website to buy a new phone. Yo, popcorn 6p? As a loyal fan of popcorn, of course, there were only 3 words. Buy. After buying the phone, Chen Guang used about 20 minutes to muster up his courage and open the school forum. As expected, his feet was already flooding the screen. Famous Joker sings Little Erlang, falls bridge crying popcorn. A human tragedy caused by a banana peel. Strongly appeal to everyone not to litter everywhere. I know the one who fell into the water. His name is Qin Guang. *CK. I can tolerate anything else, but why did you directly expose my real name in this post? What kind of hatred? He clicked on it and saw that the ID of the poster was Swimming Master. *CK. Anyone with a normal brain would know who this guy was. Who else could it be other than Dong Tao from the architecture department next door? Not only did this scumbag expose his real name, but he also clearly stated his age, school, and department. That wasn't the end of it. He even grabbed onto Qin Guang's beloved popcorn phone and mocked it for being a loser's phone, saying that it was a model phone for losers and that it had no class. Wasn't it just a broken phone? Was there a need to care so much? Many people replied that the swimming master's mouth was too poisonous, that the popcorn phone was friendly and easy to use, and that the love maniacs felt superior and so on. But there were still some people who thought the same as Dong Tao and looked down on his phone. That was not all. It seemed that someone had switched to a Smurf account and started to dig up Qin Guang's dark history, without saying a word. He had been defeated 5 times in a row, got into fights, skipped classes for food and so on. In short, it was as dark as it could be. It was purely portraying Qin Guang as someone who committed all sorts of crimes. Needless to say, this must be that scum Dong Tao's Smurf account. Qin Guang was infuriated when he saw this. He had taught Pan Jiang a lesson. Did he think that he would be safe in the academy's student group? Dong Tao, did he come out to look for trouble? Didn't I squash you like an ant during the sports day? But when I decided not to withdraw from the competition and handed over the championship to you, you still jumped up and bit me like a mad dog. Do you really think that I, Qin Guang, am a pushover that you can pinch at will? Do you really think I don't dare to teach you a lesson? Immediately, Qin Guang packed up and was about to head downstairs to beat someone up. When he knocked on the door of Dong Tao's dormitory, it was empty. It seemed that this brat was outside using his phone to surf the internet. You're really dedicated. You're so energetic in typing and hating me on your phone. Don't you feel tired? Going downstairs, he looked left and right. The way the people around him looked at him didn't seem right. Of course, this was just a psychological effect. The school forum only had so much influence. Perhaps less than 1 in 10 people really liked to browse the forum. But since his mind was preoccupied, he subconsciously felt that there was something wrong with the way other people looked at him. It seemed that he couldn't stay in school today. Qin Guang slipped away and went to the internet cafe, planning to take advantage of this opportunity to practice hard in preparation for taking revenge on Jiang Luhua in the future. At the same time, he could avoid the school's limelight. In the end, he encountered another strange thing in the internet cafe. That ID called Jiang Luhua actually appeared again. Damn, he's like a shadow, haunting me like a vengeful spirit. Although Qin Guang's level was extremely high, he had been stuck at 3,000 points in the past. After his rise, he had been playing duo with Wenwen, so now he was still at 3,000 points. Meeting Jiang Lushao again in this section was a great surprise to him. Why did it feel like the other party had a special ability? No matter which section he played, this guy would appear in. Are you trying to fight me? Another owner of a cheat. Come, fight to my heart's content. Fight. After fighting to my heart's content, I kneeled in a mess. I threw the mouse away. I can't play this broken game anymore. I've lost. I'll leave the Dota 2 domain to you, the owner of the second Goldfinger. How could Qin Guang know that Emperor of the Azure was stomping her feet in anger in the World in Cup? She had been watching the manga just now when Qin Guang had fallen into the water. She had only watched half of it and had been enjoying herself when she had disconnected. The most hateful thing was that she couldn't connect again. So when Qin Guang entered the internet cafe again, it was purely suicidal. He had been targeted by Liuli's Jiang Luhua to vent his anger. After Qin Guang's continuous practice while he slept, Liuli's level had improved by leaps and bounds. She had been strong to begin with, but now she was so strong that it was completely unreasonable. When gods played games, mortals suffered. In the short period of time that Qin Guang hadn't paid attention to the gaming circle, the ID Liuli had already made a name for herself on the internet. She was even more dazzling and domineering than when Qin Guang himself had appeared out of nowhere. She could already be called an invincible master. Meet God, Kill God, meet Buddha, destroy Buddha. Hey, don't go. Lioli had a good time, but Chen Guang didn't hesitate to get up and leave. Today wasn't a good day, so he might as well go back to his dorm and sleep. Some words really couldn't be kept in his heart, because once he broke through that gate in his heart, bad luck would follow him like gangrene, and he couldn't get rid of it even if he wanted to. It even made Chen Guang start to suspect whether Lioli had used the power of fate yesterday and, apart from saving his mother's life, brought him small misfortunes one after another. He hadn't even reached the school gate, and he had already run into a ghost. When Chen Guang walked, he was a little too close to the side. An Audi A4L first came out of the school gate, then made a right turn. Then, it suddenly ran to his right and slammed on the brakes. That wasn't all. It seemed to have rained last night, and it just so happened that there was a small puddle of water at the side of the A4L. The gray bastard ran over fiercely, and the puddle of water immediately splashed up. No matter how agile Chen Guang was, he couldn't withstand this sudden sneak attack, and half of his body was soaked in the muddy water. Old Master Guang wasn't a good-tempered person to begin with, so he was immediately enraged. That A4L was in no hurry to leave after doing something bad, and it stopped by the side of the road just like that. Chen Guang frowned. Could it be that this bastard was planning to get out of the car and apologize? One shouldn't hit a smiling person, so there was no way he could happily slap him. Forget it, if he's sincere, I'll be magnanimous and let him off. Just as he was thinking this, the A4L's door suddenly opened, and a rather tall figure walked out, looking at him with a fake smile. Yo, isn't this the diving champion, Popcorn Bro Chen Guang? Are you faded with water today? I accidentally splashed it all over you, so I'm really sorry. Here's 100 yuan. Take it as compensation for the clothes you're wearing, alright? The moment this person got out of the car, he put on an extremely repulsive expression and laughed weirdly, pointing at Chen Guang. Dong Tao. Chapter 159. You can wear out iron shoes in fruitless searching, only to find it by chance. Chen Guang's face suddenly fell. If it was someone else, it might have been an accident. But since it was Dong Tao who was driving, and combined with the fact that Dong Tao deliberately drove to the side of the road when he approached him, it was obvious that Dong Tao did it on purpose. Fine, I wanted to beat you up before, but I couldn't find you. Now that you have come knocking on my door, I will let you have your way. Recently, Dong Tao had been in a bad mood. The reason was that he had been defeated by Chen Guang in the sports meet. Although Chen Guang had inexplicably withdrawn from the competition, and he had the last laugh, the shadow of his defeat in the preliminary round still lingered. Dong Tao also knew that Coach Qin had failed to invite Chen Guang. Although Coach Qin had never mentioned it again, Dong Tao still had a knot in his heart, and it was hard for him to get over it. After that, he tried to ask Pan Jiang for money. Even if it didn't work out, he felt that he had made a contribution, so he should get some benefits. In the end, Pan Jiang had completely disappeared from the face of the earth. Dong Tao couldn't get through to him on the phone. He secretly asked Pan Jiang's former best friends, and they found out that Pan Jiang had actually dropped out of school. Dong Tao was puzzled, but what made him even more depressed was that he had made a wasted effort and lost face. After all that effort, he only got a meal, and he didn't get any money. His heart was even more uneasy. This bad mood lasted until this morning. Coincidentally, he browsed the school forum on his phone, and saw that a post related to Chen Guang had become a hot topic. Without any hesitation, Dong Tao immediately went into action, and used his real self's sock puppet. He was so happy that he had taken his revenge. As for Chen Guang's revenge, Dong Tao didn't care. Time had passed, and he seemed to have forgotten how the three of them had cowered in front of Chen Guang. At that time, Chen Guang didn't really fight with him. Dong Tao thought that he was a semi-professional athlete, and if he really fought with him, he wouldn't lose too much to Chen Guang. It was the same now. Just as he drove out of the school gate, he glanced at Chen Guang casually, and then he remembered that there were several other cars following him, so he did this without hesitation. This was not the end. Anyway, he had more than 10 people on his side. If he didn't take this opportunity to teach Chen Guang a lesson, wouldn't it be a waste of his good luck? Furthermore, they were outside the school. So even if he beat up Chen Guang, He could only suffer in silence as long as he didn't injure him too much. Dong Tao was pitiful. He had forgotten to ask Pan Jiang's classmates about why Pan Jiang would drop out of school and what happened between Pan Jiang and Qin Guang. If he knew that Qin Guang first beat up Pan Jiang's buddies and then sent Pan Jiang to the hospital, he might not be so stupid and impulsive today. Interesting. I was looking for you. Qin Guang rubbed his hands and walked towards Dong Tao. Dong Tao was slightly surprised. Is this guy really so hot-tempered? He just started a fight because of a disagreement? Doesn't he recognize what car I'm driving? An Audi A4 that costs more than 200,000. What the hell is in your head? This is the car that a university student drives. Is it someone you can mess with? What the hell are you doing? Dong Tao took 2 steps back and signaled the people in the car with his eyes. All of you get out. Get out. This guy is looking for a beating. Qin Guang was only 2 to 3 meters away from Dong Tao, but he was not in a hurry to make a move. You think you have more people? Fine. Come on. I will wait for you all to come down. I will beat you all together. A few days ago, he observed and learned from Wang Lin's domineering moves. Qin Guang did not want to admit that his hands were itching. He did not know how Wang Lin trained, but as long as he practiced, he would have a chance to get close to the Tyrannosaurus King. At this time, 3 more cars drove out from the school gate. They went straight to where Qin Guang and Dong Tao were. They stopped and another 8 or 9 people got out. Counting with his eyes, Qin Guang saw 4 vehicles and 13 people. What an auspicious number. 2 of them looked familiar. They seemed to be the people who lost to him in the school's swimming pool. No wonder you are so brave. It seems like you have a lot of helpers. Qin Guang was not anxious at all. That day, at the same place, Wu Tong had died unexpectedly. He had single-handedly stopped Brother Scar and Glasses Wu's group. Although the number of people was similar to today, Brother Scar and the others were just small characters in Wenxing Town, but their skills were indeed strong. Dong Tao's group looked young and strong, but if they were to really fight, they would be nothing more than a silver spear tip, good to look at but useless to the eyes. Now that his own people were here, the fear in Dong Tao's heart had already disappeared. He coldly looked at Qin Guang and continued, having more people is also a skill. I know that you have a few brothers that hang out with you, and if you're not convinced, you can call them over and have a good fight. If you are afraid, then leave with your tail between your legs. In the future, show me some respect. Qin Guang grinned. No problem. But you have to be good. I think I alone am good enough. As for respect, I will respect you right now. Before he finished his sentence, he suddenly moved. He took 2 to 3 steps in front of Dong Tao and pretended to kick him. Dong Tao turned his body to dodge, but Qin Guang did not kick him. Instead, he stomped on the ground, leaned forward, and swung his left hand horizontally towards Dong Tao's face. Dong Tao's head followed the direction of Qin Guang's left hand and swung to the side. His head hit the door frame of his Audi A4L. Everything happened too quickly, and no one expected that Qin Guang would actually dare to make a move. But you're alone. We have more than 10 people here. Dong Tao was stunned. The others were scared out of their wits. Before Dong Tao could scream, Qin Guang took another step forward and grabbed his collar. His right hand reached out and grabbed his hair from behind. Then he slammed him into the car window. The sound was so loud that the people who were watching from the side felt their teeth ache. It was too tragic. Dong Tao finally covered his head and squatted down while wailing. The very sturdy car window cracked from the impact of his head's impact. Qin Guang followed up with a kick that landed on that brat's stomach. Ow! The wail turned into a sharp wail. Who dares to come up? All of this took a long time to describe, but happened in a flash. In a few seconds, the tall and strong Dong Tao became a pile of mud on the ground. The 10 helpers beside him didn't even have time to react. After beating him up, Qin Guang suddenly turned around and glared at the others who tried to get close. The aura of the second officer, who had killed countless people in the Sea of Moments, exploded in an instant. The veins on his arms and neck bulged. The muscles that were originally hidden under the stimulation of his adrenaline unconsciously swelled up. At this moment, he looked like a ferocious beast. The young lads who were still in the ivory tower were scared out of their wits. Unhurriedly, Chen Guang took another step forth and stepped on Dong Tao's hand. He didn't exert any force, but he didn't allow Dong Tao to get up. He coldly looked around and continued, "All of you should know how this matter started, since you're in Dong Tao's vehicle. I won't talk to you about right or wrong. I just want to ask who doesn't accept it? Come, if he wants it, I'll give it to him. If you don't accept it, come up and try." Chapter 160. F***CK, do you really think I got to where I am today by acting cute? As Chen Guang spoke, he subconsciously touched his pocket, intending to take out his weapon. F***CK, I forgot. My poor swing rod has already sunk into the fish pond. But it didn't matter. Anyway, these grandsons were all subdued. It seemed like there was no need to take out his weapon. Help me! Help me! Beat him up! Dong Tao howled in pain as he tried to pull his hand out from under Chen Guang's foot. But after trying for a long time, he was afraid that Chen Guang would really use his strength, and he would still be stepped on. He shouted in panic. He was really afraid that his hand would be trampled. If that happened, his swimming career would really come to an end. What he couldn't understand the most was that there were so many people surrounding him. Why was he beaten to the ground by Chen Guang the moment he saw him, and the others didn't move at all? Dong Tao shouted for a long time, but still no one moved. The air seemed to have frozen. Dong Tao's companions were in a rather awkward situation. They didn't know whether to move or not. There were more and more people watching from the side, which made these people even more ashamed and angry. We have more than 10 people here, and we're scared to the point that we can't move. What is this? Finally, gradually, some people couldn't hold back anymore, and they slowly approached Chen Guang. Chen Guang suddenly laughed. If the matter really passed like this, it would really be a little disappointing. If he didn't fight to his heart's content, he probably wouldn't let Dong Tao completely give up. If he defeated more than 10 people in front of him, Dong Tao would probably not be able to stand still when he saw him in the future. Moreover, he had already made such a big scene. If he didn't fight to his heart's content, what would be the point? Last time, Zhong Bai and his group of young fellows were very disappointing. They had planned to beat him up, but suddenly, he turned into a potential financial backer of their family. They treasured him so much that they were afraid of losing him in their hands and melting in their mouths. Dong Tao and his group didn't have that kind of treatment. It was a good time to have fun. Of course, I wasn't so domineering in the past. Who asked me to be different now? I'm the second officer of the An Royal. Just as the first person was about to approach Chen Guang and he was about to take the initiative to attack, a sudden change occurred. From the corner of the street came the rumbling sound of an engine. The voice came from afar and approached abruptly. It was like a tidal wave, one wave after another. The rolling sound pressure was deafening, and many people covered their ears in discomfort. A supercar. And it wasn't just one. From the sound of it, there were at least 10 of them. The roar of the supercar's engine was too deafening. Not to mention the bored onlookers surrounding Chen Guang. Even Chen Guang himself and Dong Tao's companions couldn't help but look towards the end of the street. Sure enough, as the first yellow Ferrari FF turned the corner, a series of supercars followed closely behind it. The dull and ear-piercing roar of the engine rose and fell. Although these supercars didn't speed up, the people in the cars seemed to be enjoying the dull and thunderous roar. 1, 2, 3 more. The long line of supercars became longer and longer. Finally, when the last Mercedes-Benz SLS turned the corner, there was a Geely Vajra in an awkward situation behind it. The sharp-eyed people had already counted how many supercars there were. There were a total of 22 supercars. Thick, incomplete smoke gushed out from the rear of these cars and rose into the sky. Coupled with the thunderous roar of the engine, it gave people a strong sense of oppression even before they got close. What a shameless show-off. Ganging up to show off, it's an unfair advantage. Suddenly, such a voice came from the crowd. The person who spoke was Chen Guang. Dong Tao's companions were the closest to him. They turned their heads and looked at him in disdain. These people thought to themselves, "You country bumpkin, what do you know? The value of the 22 supercars added up to hundreds of millions, especially the Porsche 918 Spider inside. The price of the single car was as high as 15 million. As for the expenses of maintaining this car, it was simply asking for one's life. Poor Dong Tao, he was actually forgotten. One must know that his hand was still being stepped on by Chen Guang. Oh, Chen Guang himself had also forgotten about this. At this moment, Chen Guang's mind was thinking, when I become rich one day, I'll sell one too. That's right, the Porsche in the middle. Although I don't know much about this kind of high-end stuff, I can tell that the car is worth a lot of money. It's not that I'm not bragging, but it's way cooler than the Nissan GT-R in front and behind it. Alright, actually I'm just guessing. All the supercars in my eyes are actually the same. 3 words, I can't afford it. At this moment, the Ferrari FF that was leading the pack gradually approached them before it abruptly swung its head and crossed the road, stopping near Qin Guang's group. At this moment, Qin Guang's group had the most people gathered around him, and it was the most conspicuous. The people in the car were most likely here to ask about something. The car window rolled down, and a head popped out and asked loudly, "Bro, is this Gokyo University? Do you know Qin Guang from the University of Construction and Sanhuan Science? We can't get through to his phone." Chen Guang was stunned. Who else could it be other than Zhong Bai? I must have mastered some special abilities recently. Whoever I think of, that person will immediately appear in front of me. I heard that there's an investment guru called Buffett on the other side of the sea. When can I have lunch with him? Well, I've already thought of that. I'll be able to see Buffett tonight at the latest. Before Chen Guang could speak, Zhong Bai had already spotted Chen Guang from the crowd. He was overjoyed. He quickly stopped the car, opened the door, and got out of the car. Then he pulled out the walkie-talkie from the car and shouted, "Everyone, pull over. I found Brother Racer. We're so lucky." After that, Zhong Bai threw the walkie-talkie into the car, slammed the door, and eagerly walked to Chen Guang. "You've crossed the double solid line and made a U-turn. You'll be fined 300 yuan and deducted 1 point." Seeing Zhong Bai getting closer and closer, Chen Guang suddenly said this. Zhong Bai stopped. After being scolded by Chen Guang, he scratched his head in embarrassment and turned his head away, not daring to look at Chen Guang. Sorry. I'm used to it. I'll change." Dong Tao, who was on the ground, and his companions who were standing, were all dumbfounded. What's going on? Brother Racer? That country bumpkin, Chen Guang, was the racing god that person was talking about? This group of supercars formed a group to act cool and come to find him? That person who just got out of the car seemed to be very respectful to Chen Guang? Things seemed to be getting a little out of control. The onlookers were also at a loss. Previously, they thought that Chen Guang was in big trouble for taking the initiative to make a move against more than 10 people. How did he get a helper in the blink of an eye? Moreover, the helper's momentum was so cool. 22 cars, there were at least 22 people. Moreover, those who could afford to drive these cars naturally had a rich family background. It seemed like the offensive and defensive situation had suddenly reversed. Who is that Chen Guang? Just now, that person called him Brother Racer. What did that mean? Countless question marks rose in everyone's heart. The only one who was really clear was Chen Guang. Chapter 161. When Dong Tao's helpers saw this scene, they didn't dare to make a move on Chen Guang. They quietly retreated, intending to disassociate themselves from this matter. Zhong Bai had already noticed that Chen Guang's situation was a little strange, but he didn't point it out before he got close. He stood next to Chen Guang and waited for the people in the other 21 cars behind him to rush out of their cars and approach one after another. Only then did he approach Chen Guang to talk. Chen Guang's eyes were very sharp. He had been secretly paying attention to the super valuable Porsche 918. The one who got out of the driver's seat was actually Lu Fei, the female pirate. The rich woman that I've been dreaming of. If I can get this girl, selling a wheel will be enough for me to eat for half a year. Brother Racing God, what are you talking about? I didn't hear it clearly. Zhong Bai's voice came from the side. Chen Guang rolled his eyes and accidentally said what he was thinking in his heart. Fortunately, it was noisy nearby and I didn't hear it clearly. Otherwise, my image as the racing god of this generation would be ruined before I even made a move. It's nothing. We'll talk about your matters later. I'll take care of this small matter first. After that, Chen Guang turned his head to look at Dong Tao, but he smiled without saying a word. He was secretly happy. Although Zhong Bai's entrance shocked the old man, the effect was really good. At least Dong Tao, this idiot, was completely scared. He must have begun to doubt his own life, right? On this side, Zhong Bai took a step forward and pulled Chen Guang's foot away from Dong Tao's hand. We are all here. Do you still need Brother Racing God to make a move? What are you doing? Dong Tao had already begun to slip into his car. The situation was not good. It was better to leave first. Zhong Bai grabbed the back of Dong Tao's shirt and threw him back. Dong Tao immediately fell on his back. Normally, Dong Tao was taller and stronger than Zhong Bai, so he wouldn't be in such a sorry state. However, he had just been beaten up by Chen Guang, and now he was stunned by this group of idiotic rich second generations. If one spirit was gone, it would be useless to have a strong body. Alright, Zhong Bai, that's it. Chen Guang was a little worried that this group of people would do something that crossed the line. After all, he only planned to beat Dong Tao up once. God knows what kind of crazy devil was hidden in the bones of these rich second generations who were as docile as lambs in front of him. However, Zhong Bai did not agree. Brother Racing God, you beat this person up so badly. Your relationship must be bad. We don't have any greeting gifts for you, so it's only natural that we help you teach someone a lesson. Is this lousy Audi his car? Zhong Bai pointed at Dong Tao's car and asked. Chen Guang ridiculed in his heart. You're talking about other people's lousy Audi, as if your heavenly states R8 isn't an Audi. It's his, why? Zhong Bai grinned and raised his head at the few brothers who were walking over from behind. Smash this Audi A4. What the heck? Chen Guang was stunned. What do you mean by being rich and willful? Compared to you guys, I'm practically a living miser when I put 2 cup covers on the heavenly holy grail. Under Dong Tao's dumbfounded gaze, under Zhong Bai and the rest's laughter, and under Chen Guang's pained gaze, this brand new A4L that Dong Tao regarded as his treasure was smashed all over the place. It couldn't be said to be completely scrapped, but looking at the completely deformed body, even using one's toes to count, one would know that if they wanted to completely repair it, it wouldn't be too far off from buying a new one. Looking at this pile of scrap metal, Dong Tao didn't even have the strength to cry. He sat on the ground like a madman, his hands trembling. He wanted to point at these rich second generations and shout something, but he didn't dare to. He was also unwilling. This matter can't be resolved. Chen Guang muttered in his heart. He secretly planned to run away as soon as possible. This has nothing to do with me. I don't have the money to pay for it. At this time, Zhong Bai took out a business card from his pocket and threw it at Dong Tao's face. We don't have any cash on us, but we're very busy today and don't have time to transfer money to you. This is my business card. If you want me to pay for it, follow the address on the business card to find me. I'll be waiting for you at any time. Zhong Bai wasn't done. Lu Fei, who had been standing on the side watching the show with her hands folded, also walked up and did the same. Some sharp-eyed people had already noticed that Lu Fei had gotten out of the Porsche 918. Needless to say, the 918's wheels could be exchanged for 2 Audi A4 LS. After Lu Fei threw the business card, the other 20 people did the same. The snowflake-like business card surrounded Dong Tao in a complete circle. It looked a bit like a magic circle to summon cute pets, and Dong Tao was the poor cute pet lying in the middle of the magic circle with a sad face. Chen Guang watched curiously. This group of people seemed to be very familiar with this routine. Obviously, this wasn't the first time they had done this. Brother Racing God, actually, we're not as bad as you think. Although the car was damaged, we still have to pay for it. It's nothing more than a way to vent our anger. If we handle it this way, we'll look good and he'll feel good. Things won't get out of hand, and everyone will be happy. Of course, I reckon that he might not really dare to ask us for the money after seeing the business card. But that's his problem. We've done everything right. Sitting in the front passenger seat of Zhong Bai's car, Chen Guang listened to his explanation. His heart still ached. Damn, so this is the greeting gift you were talking about? A car that smashed a basket. Why don't you just give me the money? I don't care about my reputation, but I care more about the inside. Forget it. Things have already come to this. I can't possibly let Lioli use magic to change the Audi A4L back, right? Wait, if I remember correctly, didn't my little Rena also take a trip to the gates of hell? If I really stopped the car and provoked them verbally that day, I would either have to beat them up directly, or my little Rena would have turned into 80,000 yuan sitting in my card, right? Thinking about it this way, it was really a close call. Whether he beat them up or lost the car, his racing god training class would be dead in its infancy. Are your business cards really that useful? Why don't you show me one? Tossing aside the past, Chen Guang was curious. He also wanted to know what Zhong Bai's family did. Zhong Bai chuckled. Business cards are also props to show off. All of us always have one on us. Only Lu Fei is more pretentious. Her business card really only has her phone number and name printed on it. As he spoke, Zhong Bai held the steering wheel with one hand, took out a gold-stamped business card, and handed it to Chen Guang. Senior Director of Huangxiang Corporation? Your family's company? Zhong Bai nodded. Yes. Your father's creativity in naming the company. I'll give him 36 likes. Zhong Bai's face turned green. He had probably heard this kind of ridicule nearly 100 times in the past 2 years. He sighed. When my father started up the company, the word, Xiang, didn't have this layer of meaning yet. Fate makes fools of people. Chapter 162. All right, we have a tacit understanding. Go back and think of a way to persuade your father to change the company's name. All right, can't you just call me if you need me for a class? Why did a bunch of people come to my school and stop at my school gate? Are you here to act cool for some fun? Chen Guang said angrily. He couldn't bring himself to be happy when he thought about how his $200,000 had flown away without him noticing. Zhong Bai felt even more wronged. I've been calling you for a long time, but I couldn't get through at all. We snuck over to try our luck. Since we had nothing better to do, we bumped into you at the school gate. Isn't that good luck? Couldn't get through? Chen Guang pinched his forehead. He couldn't even complain anymore. Heavenly State's popcorn for us, you really died a terrible death. That wasn't the biggest blow. Chen Guang realized that he didn't have the special ability to call. Zhong Bai and the rest happened to come over only because he couldn't get through to his phone. Oh right, where's your R8? Hasn't it been repaired? Is it a new one? Chen Guang hurriedly tried to change the topic. Otherwise, his heart would hurt again. Zhong Bai sighed angrily. The whole car is flooded, so what can I do? It was sent back to Germany and won't be back for a month or two. I can only drive this one out. Don't think that it's expensive, it's not as convenient as the R8. Give it to me if it's not convenient. Chen Guang rolled his eyes and thought in his heart. He couldn't be bothered to talk to this rich second generation anymore. He didn't want to be hurt by this grandson's extravagance again. The group of people came and left in a hurry. They smashed Dong Tao's heart and A4L into pieces at the school gate. The crowd at the school gate was also shocked. Dong Tao was heartbroken as he laid on his own car. The pain all over his body added together was not as much as the pain of a funeral. He was so angry that he could barely breathe. Then he pointed at his companions who had been watching the show from the beginning to the end and gnashed his teeth in hatred. He held it in for a long time and only managed to say, "Damn you! You onlookers! You're dead!" From the moment he tried to attack Chen Guang by relying on his advantage in numbers, it was destined to be a huge mistake. Even if those people didn't come later, they still wouldn't be able to defeat Chen Guang, because his grandsons didn't dare to make a move. Then came these super runners, who were even more unreasonable than him and wilder than Chen Guang. Not only did they smash the car because of a disagreement, they even threw their business cards at his face. They looked like they were saying, "If you want to pay up, come and find us." Was he really going to ask for compensation? Stop joking. Look at what is written on these business cards. a senior director of Huangxiang Corporation, deputy general manager of Dongguang Group, the assistant to the chairman of Parkson Tianhe Group. Take your head and ask for it. Well, losing a car worth more than 200,000 and being able to get so many high-end business cards, it seems like it's not entirely without benefits. But his family's small business couldn't compare to such a big haul. What could he do? Admit defeat. As for Chen Guang, Dong Tao was even more determined not to provoke him. He couldn't beat him. Fight with his background? Don't make trouble. All his family's wealth was not as good as the Porsche 918 in the middle of the group of cars. What would Dong Tao become, whether the onlookers would take photos and upload them to the internet, whether he would really change from the diving brother to the car-smashing brother? Chen Guang didn't care at all. Anyway, no matter how miserable he would be the former underwear Superman. Today, he didn't go to class or the hospital. Since he had picked them up, Chen Guang was planning to take care of the racing god training class. Although there was Patek Philippe there, it was not bad to earn more than 100,000. God knew how much the whole kidney transplant surgery would cost. Now, 200,000 in cash plus the 400,000 that Patek Philippe might get, the total was 600,000, which might not be enough. A group of cars drove to the Fengquan Mountain racetrack. Zhong Bai was quite honest on the way. He didn't exceed the speed limit or run the lights, which was completely different from what Chen Guang had imagined. Of course, Chen Guang speculated that it might be because he had taught him a lesson before. It was only 10 o'clock in the morning, and there was no one else here at all. After getting out of the car and counting people, Chen Guang found that most of the people who were racing here that day were not seen today. Most of them were unfamiliar faces, and only Lu Fei and 3 or 4 other people could be remembered. Zhong Bai, what's going on? I don't know most of them. Chen Guang wondered. Zhong Bai scratched his head in embarrassment and said, Brother Racing God. Okay, don't call me Brother Racing God. It's so distant. Those who don't know me might think that my surname is Che and my name is Brother Shin. Just call me Chen Guang. Chen Guang interrupted Zhong Bai's words. He was unconsciously trying to get close to the rich second generation. He was so confident because he had driving skills. Hey, Brother Chen Guang. Zhong Bai tried to call him. After calling him, he looked nervously at Chen Guang's expression, for fear that he wouldn't be used to it. Chen Guang sighed. Hey, damn, can you not stare at me like that? I thought you had a gourd in your hand. If you called my name, I would be sucked in. After Zhong Bai explained it to Chen Guang understood how attractive his skills were. Zhong Bai was tight-lipped. In accordance with Chen Guang's request to pull a few more students, he secretly pulled in his buddies who had a good relationship with him to make up the number. As a result, there was a loose tongue in that group of people who leaked the matter. Now, all the second generations of Wujing City who liked to race cars flocked to this place. Zhong Bai became the spokesperson of Chen Guang's racing god training class. Everyone wanted to come and fought over it. However, Zhong Bai couldn't figure out Chen Guang's temper. He said it was a training class. If he really pulled in 100 people and only charged 100,000 a day, he was really afraid that Chen Guang would just fling his sleeves and leave. In desperation, Zhong Bai had to pick and choose. Those who really couldn't erase their relationship and couldn't put down their pride were able to enter the ranks of the first training class. Originally, the other few people who met for the first time also barely managed to keep their spots. However, the others couldn't do anything to Zhong Bai, so they went to those people separately. The form was stronger than the people. Everyone fought with each other in private and did all kinds of shady business. After changing back and forth, there were now 22 people. Of course, just by looking at the batch of cars that came today, it was clear that the 22 people who had been changed were not the same as those who surrounded Zhong Bai that day. Among them, the cheapest was the top Nissan GTR. Who knows how much money this guy spent on it? Of course, the female pirate Lu Fei was the most domineering. She quietly drove her Porsche 918 Spider. Chen Guang said that the scale of her family's chemical plant was a bit big. After asking Zhong Bai about the matter, Chen Guang was thinking about how to get close to Lu Fei, the rich woman. As a result, she took the initiative to come over and smiled. Chen Guang, Brother Racing God, where did you buy this t-shirt? The half-dragon pattern is very domineering. I also want to buy one. Lowering his head, Qin Guang sighed. He had just splashed half his body with mud, and when he saw Zhong Bai's party, he was so engrossed in the thought of the $100,000 training fee that he forgot to change his clothes. Right now, he was so dry that there were even marks on his clothes. You don't say. It was indeed quite domineering half-dragon pattern. Go away, you even dare to tease your mentor. Be careful, I'll let you taste the haushikahaki that I just practiced. Chapter 163. Since he had decided to earn this money, Qin Guang was not going to fool around. He planned to teach them something real. Although they were rich, after spending so much time with them, Qin Guang could tell that they were not stupid. They were smart. Zhong Bai had said that apart from the 22 people today, there were at least 180 people waiting outside. No, he had to limit the number of people. Today was the first time, but the next time, there would be no more than 20 people. That way, he would be able to fool at least 5 more groups of people and earn at least another 500,000. So the problem was, if he wanted to keep this business going, how should he teach them today? Sitting in the driver's seat of Zhong Bai's Ferrari FF, Qin Guang felt a little sad when he turned his head to look at Zhong Bai, who was so excited that he did not know what to do. He found a few problems, and the most pressing one was how to start the car in front of him. Looking at the strange buttons on the FF steering wheel, even if he was the king of English and knew every word, it was useless. Knowing the names of the buttons did not mean that he knew how to start the car. Brother Qin Guang, what's wrong? Zhong Bai excitedly waited for a long time, but there was no movement, so he couldn't help but ask. Letting out a sigh, Qin Guang couldn't act anymore. Although his driving skills are heaven-defying, he's only driving low-end cars like the Altarina. He hasn't even touched a high-end Ferrari before. Zhong Bai, can you tell me how to start the car first? Qin Guang finally admitted. Zhong Bai was stunned at first, but then he came back to his senses and tried not to laugh out loud. He had never doubted Qin Guang's driving skills, but he did not expect this godlike person to have such an awkward moment. It would be difficult for someone who did not know how to drive a car like this, but after Zhong Bai briefly explained a few key points, Qin Guang immediately got the hang of it. But a new problem arose. What should he teach him? If his driving skills were really discovered little by little, perhaps he could really explain the main points to Zhong Bai in simple terms, but in fact, he was the victim of the stuffing method of teaching in a cup. From the beginning to the end, I drove the modified Alto and sped through the 9 stages of the God of Racing Cup, finally becoming the God of Racing. Now that I'm teaching someone, I can't bring them into the cup realm, and I don't have any theoretical knowledge. The ability to race is done subconsciously, and I don't need to think about it at all. You want to teach others? How am I supposed to teach him? Pay attention. When he took off, he had to look in the rearview mirror to make sure there were no other cars behind him. Oh, by the way, first check that the safety belt is not fastened tightly, then release the handbrake and place your feet on the clutch and brake respectively. Thankfully, the Ferrari FF still had a clutch. Hey, Zhong Bai, what happened to you? What kind of expression is that? Are you doubting my teaching? Brother Qin Guang, what you just said is only taught by a driving instructor. We want to learn how to race with you, not from the most basic level. Zhong Bai wanted to cry, but no tears came out. He even began to wonder if the God of Racing was unhappy that he had invited too many people. Seeing that he couldn't fool him, Qin Guang also had a headache. He slapped his hands on the steering wheel and held it in for a long time before he said, Zhong Bai, it's not that I don't want to teach you, but my driving skills are unorthodox, and I don't know how to teach you. Zhong Bai was puzzled. Qin Guang thought for a while and lied through his teeth. You might not believe it, but I was just an average driver in the past, and my driving skills might not even be half as good as yours. But one night, I suddenly had a dream. Do you know what I dreamed of? Zhong Bai's curiosity was suddenly piqued. What? I dreamed of it. I dreamed that I was driving an Alto 4 or 500 kilometers per hour, and then I sped all the way over mountains, across rivers, across oceans, and even finished the Dakar rally. When I woke up from my dream, I was driving at my current level. Do you believe it? My driving skills were actually trained in that dream, in the Alto. Chen Guang said with a sincere face. Zhong Bai's mouth was wide open, and he looked at Chen Guang in a daze. He subconsciously thought that the god of racing might be joking, but looking at his serious expression, it didn't seem like he was joking. Lu Fei and the others, who had been hiding outside the car window and peeking inside, were shocked by Zhong Bai's expression. Lu Fei was speechless. What did Chen Guang say? Zhong Bai's face was full of shock. No wonder he's the god of racing. With just a few words, he scared Zhong Bai, this brat. The others nodded. Amazing. Really amazing. No wonder he's the god of racing. This group of people was also pitiful. If they knew the real reason why Zhong Bai's mouth was wide open, they would probably vomit 3 liters of blood. Zhong Bai, who was inside, was dumbfounded for a long time. He didn't expect the god of racing's real situation to be like this. He looked at the people who were still waiting in line outside to listen to his teachings, and for a moment, he didn't know what to do. On the other side, Chen Guang finally had a flash of inspiration, and he thought of an idea that could deal with it. He suddenly clapped his hands and said, I got it. Zhong Bai was startled again. What is it? Chen Guang laughed. I thought about it. Although I don't know how to teach you, the old man's driving skills are not to be underestimated. Besides, you just signed up for my training class. There are so many people here today, and it's not worthwhile for me to teach them one by one. I don't have that ability, and you won't be able to learn it, and the time doesn't allow for it. So let's do it this way. I'll drive here, and you figure out how to observe my driving methods and movements. How much you can learn and comprehend is your ability. If you can't learn or comprehend it, don't blame me, and I won't be responsible. My driving skills are natural, and words can't describe them. They can only be understood, but not explained. After that, without waiting for Zhong Bai to say anything, Chen Guang suddenly started the car and rushed forward. He thought of something again and continued. This Fengquan mountain racetrack is 20 kilometers long. If everyone raced back and forth, we would have to run 880 kilometers today. There's not enough time. You make the arrangements. After the 2 of us set off, ask 11 people to follow us in their own cars. I'll send you to the finish line, and then change people to run back from the finish line. Everyone only runs one way, not back and forth. Do you have any objections? Chen Guang's thoughts lit up, especially when he used righteous words to bluff. All of a sudden, Chen Guang felt more confident. He even brought out the racing god's aura, which instantly changed the way he spoke. Zhong Bai nodded fiercely like a child being taught a lesson. He only sighed in his heart. This is the real racing god. Domineering. Mighty. If I say so, I won't discuss it with you at all. If you recognize it, then admit it. If you don't, then admit it. He will definitely leave, and won't waste his breath on ordinary people like you. Chapter 164. At first, Chen Guang was not very familiar with the performance and control of Zhong Bai's car, so he held back when he ran. Zhong Bai still felt that it was a little boring. But as time went by, when Chen Guang gradually figured out the performance of the Ferrari FF, the situation gradually changed. After 5 kilometers, Chen Guang's speed became faster and faster, and he didn't like to slow down when he was passing corners. Zhong Bai saw it clearly. His heel was clearly on the brake, and the rear of the car was also emitting billowing smoke and dust from the friction of the tires on the side of the road, and the car was also drifting sideways. But Zhong Bai couldn't understand why he had to slow down when they were both drifting, but the racing god didn't slow down at all. Yes, his right foot is still on the accelerator, but when I drift, my right foot is also on the accelerator. What's the difference? The key was that he could always control the limit of flying, and let the Ferrari charge through all kinds of U-shaped corners, S-shaped corners, or Z-shaped corners. Zhong Bai didn't dare to relax for even a second. His eyes drifted to the road in front of him, and then he observed the dazzling operation of Chen Guang's hands, shifting gears, handbrake, and turning the steering wheel. Too fast. Too fast. I can't see it clearly at all. Zhong Bai originally planned to not let go of Qin Guang's leg movements, but later, no matter how his eyes drifted, he found that he could only look here and forget there. This was not only his biggest pain. He was also wearing a seatbelt, and he was also an expert in Wujing City's racing scene. Sitting in his own car, he almost fainted from being thrown around. Compared to Qin Guang, Zhong Bai felt that his years of racing were all wasted. He was driving an old car. From the beginning to the end, Zhong Bai, who claimed to have a good foundation, felt like he was reading a book from heaven. When he finally came back to his senses, the Ferrari FF had already screeched to a stop on the finish line. He unbuckled his seatbelt and got out of the car. Chen Guang stretched his body and sighed. Not bad. It's much better than my crappy Rena. Have you checked your watch? With Chen Guang's reminder, Zhong Bai, who was still in a trance, suddenly reacted. He pressed the stopwatch and then stared blankly at Chen Guang. 8 minutes, 43 seconds, and 7 seconds. Then, he took out his phone and did some calculations. He gasped. The average speed is 137.48. Chen Guang grinned. How does this compare to your usual results? In fact, Chen Guang himself was not very satisfied. After all, he could reach a few hundred kilometers per hour in a small broken Alto. Today, he had switched to a Ferrari FF, a super sports car, but he could only reach a speed of 130 kilometers per hour. His performance was terrible, and he did not know if the group of rich second-generation heirs would be satisfied. Zhong Bai was completely dumbfounded. Brother Racing God? He was so scared that he called him Brother Racing God again. Usually, when we run by ourselves, we can reach an average speed of more than 90 kilometers per hour, and that's already putting our lives on the line. You're so fast that it's completely unreasonable. Although this Phoenix Spring Mountain is not as thrilling as the Akina Mountain racetrack in the anime, it's not far from it. You're even crazier than Takumi Fujiwara. You're a living legend. Zhong Bai felt a little dizzy. Then, he remembered that in the first half of the journey, this man was still trying to figure out the performance of his car and drove with a suppressed temper. Only in the last 3/4 of the journey did he really speed up. Zhong Bai felt even more terrified. This was only his second time driving this racetrack. This result was far from his limit. When I checked my watch just now, he had already gotten out of the car and stretched. He had wasted at least 10 to 20 seconds. I didn't even realize that the speed was so amazing when I was in the car. Only after I got out of the car did I realize how amazing it was. No wonder he couldn't catch up with his broken Rena that day. He didn't check his watch that day. Now that I think about it, he basically didn't slow down when he was driving the Rena, and he ran at an average speed of more than 100 kilometers per hour. It would be a miracle if he could catch up. Seeing that he managed to intimidate the other party, Qin Guang was satisfied. Naturally, he didn't have to be as excited as a modified Alto. In any case, he just had to deal with it, and it was fine as long as he could deal with it. Did you learn anything? Qin Guang looked at him expectantly. Zhong Bai blushed and subconsciously wanted to nod, but then he turned his face away awkwardly. Basically, I didn't learn anything. Your movements were too fast. I couldn't remember them at all. I couldn't even see them clearly. Chen Guang shrugged. You can't blame me for that, right? Anyway, I was out of form. Zhong Bai looked up at the sky and sighed. It wasn't that he didn't work hard when he was young, but that his mentor was too violent. After waiting for about 7 to 8 minutes, the other 11 cars caught up one after another. When this group of people arrived, they were all shocked by Zhong Bai's absent-minded look. After hearing Zhong Bai talk about how Qin Guang had run for 8 minutes and 43 seconds, all of them looked at Qin Guang with a completely different expression. Those who had witnessed Qin Guang racing with Rena were still fine, since they were at least mentally prepared. However, those who hadn't been here last time felt that Qin Guang wasn't looking at a person, but a god. Qin Guang moved his body slightly, looked at the time and smiled. While I'm in a good state, hurry up. Who's next? Run 2 more times before noon, and finish early in the afternoon. 8 minutes later, another guy broke down. This guy's level was much lower than Zhong Bai's, and he didn't even see Qin Guang's movements clearly. Moreover, Chen Guang first used Zhong Bai's Ferrari FF to get used to the performance of a supercar. Now that he switched to this Mercedes-Benz SLS, it didn't seem to be much different. He was very fast from the beginning and maintained his speed until the end. However, this group of people wasn't completely devoid of experts. Chen Guang vaguely remembered that about 10 people, there was a guy driving a Nissan GTR. Although this guy's car looked the lowest on the surface, he was the most diligent. The performance of the GTR was not bad to begin with, and he had magically modified it even more. The actual value of this supercar should be at least 5 million, and it even had its own nitrogen injection to accelerate. However, when Chen Guang had magically modified the Alto, he didn't try this thing. After all, this car was very valuable and he was afraid that something would happen to it, so he suppressed his curiosity and didn't touch it. When he was actually driving, Chen Guang felt that the car was indeed very good. He easily finished the race within 8 minutes, which was the best result of the day. This guy's eyes were fixed on Chen Guang from the beginning to the end. He was smarter than Zhong Bai and knew that he wouldn't learn anything if he looked at the road and the people at the same time. So, he simply paid attention to the small details of Chen Guang's operation. When he sent this guy to the finish line, Chen Guang looked at the guy's sparkling eyes and knew that this guy was really going to be enlightened. Chapter 165. Why, how much have you learned? Ha, I feel a little bit, but I'm afraid I have to practice more later. Maybe I can reach half of your level. This young man was modest. Well, there are so many people today, I'm afraid you didn't learn for nothing. Chen Guang laughed and got on the next car. With such a young man as his backing, at least his tuition today was not in vain. Again, the master's show, you guys just watch the fun. Whether you can learn it or not, I don't care. Lu Fei and her Porsche 918 Spider seemed to have been pushed to the last by her own request. She was smart enough to wait for Chen Guang to finish her last lap. He had to go back to school, right? At that time, she would let him drive her car back to school. Compared to other people's mere 20 kilometers of tutorials, it was worth the ticket price. As for Chen Guang's 100,000 yuan in cash, he had already transferred it to his PayPal account during lunch. This money was easy and pleasant to earn. It was nothing more than changing different cars and strolling repeatedly on the Phoenix Spring Mountain racetrack. The workload was similar to that of opening the internet, but the income was like heaven and earth. It could not be mentioned in the same breath. The driving skills that Chen Guang showed today were already divine in the eyes of Zhong Bai and the others, but compared to Chen Guang's realm in the cup world when he had 100 resurrection chances, it was still worlds apart. This made Chen Guang sigh. In this world, no matter what you do, you have to be professional. As long as you show the top professional standards, even if you just casually drive a car, you can earn 100,000 yuan a day. Is this the divine pencil sharpening skill? Sigh, forget about that damn divine skill. It doesn't even feel good to show off. Sitting in the driver's seat of Lu Fei's Porsche 918 Spider, Chen Guang tried hard to restrain his emotions, striving to make himself look like a real god of racing. He must not let others see his slightly embarrassing situation at this time. When he was in the other Lamborghini, he had asked the young man how much Ruffy's car was worth. When he finally found out the truth, he almost burst into tears. The entire car was imported. Even if a button on the control panel was broken, the original parts had to be handmade by foreign craftsmen. There were only 918 cars in the world, and the entire car was worth 15 million. There was no way to be friends with this woman. Damn, my heart is so tired. It's so tiring to be friends with a real nouveau riche. Lu Fei didn't know that Chen Guang was feeling sad. She rolled down the window and said to Zhong Bai and the others with a smile, "You guys go back to your own homes first and understand yourselves. The rest of Brother Racing God's time belongs to me. Brother Chen Guang has accompanied us for the whole day. It's time to go back to school." Cunning. Despicable. Shameless. I mean, Sister Lu Fei, why are you so benevolent and righteous to take the initiative to be the last one? Lu Fei was extremely proud of herself. She pointed to her head and said, "As a person, you have to use your brain more. That's why I can buy a 918, but you guys can only drive your lousy Gallardo. Alright, that's it. Go and stay where it's cool. The dejected Chen Guang listened to Lu Fei's words and suddenly said, if you want to take care of me, this will count as overtime. You'll have to pay more. Lu Fei laughed and patted Chen Guang's shoulder again and again. Brother Chen Guang, you're so humorous. You really know how to joke. Do you think I don't understand the meaning of overtime? Those little bastards dare to say anything in front of me. Alright, let's hurry up and go. I can't wait anymore. Damn it. I'm not joking. You should be more serious. Chen Guang complained in his heart, but Lu Fei had already fastened her seatbelt. She then rubbed her hands and stared at him with a face full of expectation, waiting for him to start. This unlucky girl, why can't you understand human language? Why is your comprehension ability so low? You can't expect a man like me to really open my mouth and ask you for extra money, right? You should have some eyesight, right? Brother Chen Guang, are your eyes uncomfortable? Why do you keep blinking? I have some eye drops here. F***ck your eye drops. I'm not happy. Brother Chen Guang, didn't Zhong Bai and the others just say that you only took 8 minutes to finish the Fengquan Mountain racetrack? But why are you running at 60 kilometers per hour now? What do you know? I didn't teach them seriously. I just wanted to finish the race quickly. You're different. I'll teach you well, so drive slowly. You learn a little. This is my real ability. Lu Fei was overjoyed. Alright, I'll learn seriously. Then, Chen Guang silently drove the Porsche 918 to the school gate at a speed of up to 80 kilometers per hour and 60 to 70 kilometers per hour most of the time. Until Chen Guang got out of the car and left, Lu Fei was still desperately trying to figure out Chen Guang's so-called real ability. That's strange. There's something wrong with his speed all the way here? No matter how I look at it, he feels like a new driver who just got his license. 10,000 question marks popped up in Lu Fei's mind and she could not figure it out. Finally, she clapped her hands fiercely. Sigh. It must be because my level is too low and I can't see the true meaning behind his seemingly ordinary operation. A real racing god has to start from the most basic of basic skills. He must have hidden the unique skill that he wanted to teach me in the most ordinary driving. It's like listening to thunder in silence. Zhong Bai called to ask about the situation. Sister Lu Fei, have you arrived yet? What did Brother Chen Guang teach you after that? Why did you arrive so late? Lu Fei shook her head proudly. Can you compare to me? Puma. What Brother Chen Guang taught me is a unique skill. Real ability. What? Real ability? Zhong Bai's eyes widened in envy. Lu Fei was very proud of herself. Although she did not understand Chen Guang's so-called real ability, it did not stop her from feeling proud even though she did not understand it. If she knew that Chen Guang was only playing with her Porsche 918 because he was mentally unbalanced and was shocked by her rich spirit, she would not be happy at all. Of course, Chen Guang was not spouting nonsense. This was indeed his real ability. When he returned to the dormitory, it was about 6 o'clock in the evening. Pushing open the dormitory door, Lin Jingwei and the other two were not playing games, but were gathered in front of Bai Fan's computer screen, not knowing what they were doing. Bai Nyangzi chuckled as he dragged the mouse around, while the other two were pointing at the screen nonstop. The three of them whispered to each other like thieves, their faces rippling with wretched expressions. Chen Guang cursed in his heart. It was simply shameful. In broad daylight, under the bright sky, they actually gathered to watch something not suitable for children. Unforgivable. And they did not even call me. What are the three of you doing? What are you looking at? Why do you look so excited? Whose network disk was cracked again? Did someone lose their phone or computer? He rushed forward and shouted. Unexpectedly, the three of them were more nervous than he was. They turned their heads and looked at him as if they had seen a ghost for a few seconds, then they all shouted at the same time. F***ck. My ears. Chen Guang pushed the three to the side and moved closer to the computer. He finally saw clearly what the three of them were doing. His face suddenly turned gloomy. Zhong Bai's smashing of the car was filmed by someone and uploaded to the school's website. Chapter 166. If it was only Zhong Bai and the others who took pictures, it would be fine. However, Chen Guang couldn't get away with it from the beginning to the end. During the whole process of the bystanders taking pictures or recording, Chen Guang was almost always at the center of the camera. There was no doubt that he became a typical character. A domineering student led a group of second-generation rich kids to beat people up and smash cars in public. They were arrogant and domineering. Even if the incident happened outside the school, even if the one who was beaten up was a second-generation rich kid, the weak side would naturally get the sympathy of the bystanders because Dong Tao was really pitiful at that time. If it was just this incident alone, perhaps Chen Guang's identity wouldn't be exposed so quickly. However, the post about Chen Guang falling into the water in the morning was exposed by Dong Tao. When the posts on both sides were put together, the matter immediately became more lively. Within a day, he became a hot topic on the school forum twice in a row. This time, it was impossible for Chen Guang not to become famous. In the dormitory, the wretched look on the face of the third grandson just now was all kinds of fancy comments on the pile of hot posts on the internet. The three of them were also big-hearted. They knew that the matter wasn't that serious. Although many posters and replies were splashing dirty water on Chen Guang, this incident happened outside the school. Secondly, Chen Guang didn't really participate in the process of smashing the car from the beginning to the end, so the slander couldn't stand. As for the scene of him beating up Dong Tao, because it happened too quickly, the bystanders didn't have time to take pictures. Most of the photos and videos were taken from when Zhong Bai and the others smashed the car. After all, the latter half was the climax, and only then was it worth watching. The fight at the beginning was too sloppy and ordinary. Therefore, although this matter was very big and very lively, in fact, Chen Guang could completely ignore it. With the passage of time, this matter would slowly be forgotten. You three are really calm. It's already like this, and you still don't know how to inform me. Chen Guang was angry. Lin Jingwei calmly pointed to the corpse of Popcorn 4S that was still hanging on the windowsill. It was almost ready to be buried. What if we use telepathy to inform you? You're not even online when you're outside. Are you blaming us? If you don't believe me, you can log into QQ and take a look. I can guarantee that the messages we sent to you have already exploded. Okay, let's just leave it at that. There are so many trivial matters. Fortunately, I made a small fortune today and am in a good mood. I don't care about this trivial matter and let it pass by itself. Thinking of the 100,000 yuan in his PayPal account, Chen Guang was in a good mood again. He just had to wait for the 6p popcorn to arrive tomorrow, and then he would transfer the money to his father's card as soon as possible. In this way, there would be 300,000 yuan in the card, which was more than enough to support the surgery until the day of the transplant. As for the payment to the donor, of course, it was Patek Philippe. Suddenly, Lin Jingwei's phone rang. When he picked up the call, he snorted into the phone while looking at Chen Guang, who was about to turn on his computer and play games, with a weird gaze. Chen Guang was creeped out by his gaze. He felt that something bad was about to happen. Sure enough, Lin Jingwei hung up the phone and looked at him with a sneer. Brother Guang, go downstairs. Teacher Zhua has been looking for you all day. She's waiting for you downstairs. You should think about how to deal with her. You also know that Teacher Zhua is very concerned about the collective image of the class. I'm afraid you won't have a good time this time. Obviously, although Lin Jingwei and the others knew that nothing would really happen to Chen Guang, they all felt that Teacher Zhua would definitely give him a good scolding. After all, the student in her class had become a negative example and tarnished her reputation as the new counselor. Chen Guang sighed and drank some water. He braced himself and stood up. If it's a blessing, it's not a curse. If it's a curse, it can't be avoided. Brothers, pour me a glass of wine and congratulate me on my triumphant return. With a perturbed mood, Chen Guang went downstairs. Sure enough, Zhua Jingxi was standing at the entrance of the dormitory with a gloomy face. Teacher Zhua, it's so late. Why don't you get off work and go home to rest? Chen Guang chuckled as he stood in front of Zhua Jingxi. Zhua Jingxi glared at him, but did not say anything to him at the entrance of the dormitory. Instead, she suddenly turned around and walked into the grove next to her. She said faintly, "Let's talk over here." Following behind Zhuo Jingxi, Chen Guang looked at the beautiful counselor's swaying and graceful back view. However, he felt a chill down his spine. It was a dark and windy night. He was going to teach her a lesson. When they arrived at the grove, Chen Guang was pondering how to teach her a lesson when Zhuo Jingxi suddenly turned around. Chen Guang thought that she was going to make a move. He quickly jumped back and crossed his hands in front of his chest, assuming a standard defensive posture. Unexpectedly, Zhuo Jingxi only looked at him with red eyes and said in a muffled voice, "Why are you so worrisome? You were so smart before. You knew that Wang Lin would want to deal with you. It's already at this juncture. Why don't you know how to restrain yourself? What if Wang Lin gets hold of your weakness?" Chen Guang was stunned. He thought that Zhuo Jingxi was going to scold him, but he did not expect that she was worried that Wang Lin would take the opportunity to stir up trouble. "Hey, I thought you were going to do something by being so fierce. Wang Lin? How could I not know what Fatty Wang is capable of? Don't worry, he can't do anything to me." "What are you saying? You were fighting in public and smashing cars in public. How vile is that? Why are you still so indifferent?" Zhuo Jingxi was more anxious than Chen Guang himself. Chen Guang laughed. "Teacher Zhuo, although you said that, I've seen the video that those people took online. Did you see me make a move? The cause and effect of the matter are not as exaggerated as those people on the internet say." Then, Chen Guang told Zhuo Jingxi everything that had happened at the school gate. After Zhuo Jingxi listened, she was still worried. "Strictly according to what you said, it was indeed Dong Tao who provoked first. Smashing cars was also done by those rich young masters. It has nothing to do with you. But you fought with Dong Tao before and you made a move." Chen Guang said again, "So, if Wang Lin wants to cause trouble for me, no matter what happens on the internet, he has to have evidence and a reason. As long as Dong Tao doesn't jump out to testify against me, this matter has nothing to do with me from beginning to end. As for whether Dong Tao dares to testify against me, I think there's no need to worry at all. If Teacher Zhuo had seen that pile of business cards, you would definitely think the same as me." Zhuo Jingxi finally let out a long sigh of relief and patted her chest. "I was worried to death. But how did you get to know those rich young masters?" Chen Guang raised his hand. "Have you forgotten? Didn't I injure my hand a few days ago because I was trying to save that kid who was the most active? With this friendship that has gone through life and death together, if something really happens, he will definitely come out and clean my ass." With this, the cause and effect of the matter were all clear, and Zhuo Jingxi's heart was completely relieved. When she heard Chen Guang's last words about cleaning up his mess, she blushed slightly, but pretended not to understand. "Okay, then let's not talk about this for now. But you still have to be careful. I have a feeling that Fatty Wang has been playing tricks recently, and it's very likely that it's targeting you. Just come at me. I'll deal with whatever comes at me. I've never been afraid of him." Chen Guang still had the same attitude. Zhuo Jingxi rolled her eyes at him. "If I didn't know about your family situation, I would have thought that you have some amazing background." "Ah, what kind of background can I have? I'm not afraid of a crooked shadow, and that's my biggest background." "Okay, there's nothing else. You can go back to the dormitory. I should go home too." Zhuo Jingxi waved her hand and was about to go back to the dormitory with Chen Guang, but the moment she took a step forward, she suddenly screamed, "Ah!" Then, as if she had suffered a great shock, she fiercely pounced on Chen Guang and posed like an octopus, wrapping herself around Chen Guang's body like an old tree. Chapter 167. Inexplicably attacked, Chen Guang really became a dead tree that couldn't move. He stood rooted to the ground with a blank look on his face. He felt that his brain wasn't working properly. They had just finished talking about business, but this beautiful counselor's style changed a little too quickly. Even if the old man had long been looking forward to it, she should at least give him some time and space to prepare. "Your confession came too suddenly, too fiercely. What should I do?" Chen Guang raised his hands slightly, his palms forming claws in the air. He really didn't know what to do. Should he follow Zhuo Jingxi's movements and hug her back tightly, or should he put on a righteous look, push her away and tell her, "Teacher, I'm not the kind of person you think I am"? Of course, the latter thought could perfectly protect his image of a gentleman, but wouldn't it be too cruel to himself? A faint fragrance seemed to flow out of Zhuo Jingxi's body as she trembled slightly. It fiercely rushed into Chen Guang's nose, as if someone was using a green foxtail to tickle his nose. It was numb and extremely itchy. Not only that, but Zhuo Jingxi's figure was already tall and voluptuous. Her whole body pounced on him like this. The two mountains of Wangwu and Taiheng weighed more than 1,000 pounds. Her huge breasts pressed hard on his chest, making it hard for him to breathe. That wasn't enough. Even more shameful was that her legs were already hanging in the air, tightly wrapped around Chen Guang's thighs. This meant that not only was her upper body impacted, but the lower half of their bodies were also tightly pressed together. Chen Guang's breathing gradually became heavier. The dragon was about to raise its head on the 2nd of February. Fortunately, his willpower was strong enough. He knew that he would definitely be doomed tonight. He touched his pocket and found that he still had a few $100s in cash. After he got out of here, $300 should be enough to book a room at the hotel opposite the school, right? Sigh, it's a pity that I don't have my phone anymore. Otherwise, I could use my phone app to book a room with just a twitch of my finger. I might even get a 20% discount or something. Nowadays, the economy is in a slump. Every little bit saved counts. Thinking of this, the huge dragon couldn't bear the pressure and slowly raised its head, as if it was going to roar at the sky. Snake. Snake. Chen Guang. It's a snake. Just as Chen Guang's mind was beginning to picture the scene of the 300 rounds of bloody battle later, Zhuo Jingxi once again yelled at the top of her lungs. This time, it wasn't a meaningless scream. Instead, she pointed at Chen Guang's back and spoke with a trembling voice. What? Snake? Chen Guang's face darkened. After all this time, you suddenly hugged me not because you wanted to confess. Slowly turning his head, Chen Guang followed the direction of Zhuo Jingxi's finger. Sure enough, he saw a small spotted snake about 2 feet long coiled on the tree trunk behind him. Its neck was bent and its head was facing the two of them. The snake hissed and flicked its tongue, looking like it was about to attack. A mere 2 feet long snake dares to bare its fangs and brandish its claws in front of the old man? Do you think I don't know what's good for you? This thing looks scary, but it's nothing more than a non-venomous cauliflower snake. It's only 2 feet long, and it's not even an adult. If you want to fight with me, cultivate for another 1,500 years. When you reach Bai Suzhen's level, come find me. Do you know that the old man is the dignified master of the heavenly Holy Grail, the savior of the Emperor of the Azure, and the strongest man with countless main character halos? Just as Chen Guang turned around and saw this little thing and was about to take off his shoe to scare it away, the little snake suddenly took the initiative to make the first move. It sprang forward and pounced over, courting death. Chen Guang's eyes widened in anger, and his murderous aura rose again. His right hand stretched out like lightning, and he used the pencil-sharpening divine skill that he had painstakingly practiced but had never been able to use. Although he did not have a knife in his hand, having no knife was better than having one. He used 2 of his fingers as a blade, and with the steady, accurate, and ruthless aura he had when sharpening a pencil, he used the little snake's head as the tip of a pencil and sliced it horizontally. Ouch! Then he bit 2 of the fingers on his right hand. It hurts a little. Chen Guang immediately jumped up and broke free from Zhuo Jingxi's entanglement. His other hand quickly reached out and grabbed the snake's weak spot and shook it. After a long time, he finally managed to save his fingers. Then he grabbed the snake's tail and whipped it violently, hitting the little snake's head against the tree trunk. It was unknown whether it was dead or unconscious. Done! After he succeeded, Chen Guang clapped his hands proudly. Good, this snake's head was very small, and its teeth were even smaller. The wound on its finger was about the same size as a small hole made by a finger during a blood test. It was not considered serious. Zhuo Jingxi looked at his finger that was still bleeding, and no one knew what was going through her mind. She suddenly grabbed his finger, stuffed it into her mouth, and started sucking. Every time she sucked, she spat out a mouthful of blood on the ground. After a long time, Zhujiangxi's face was completely red. It was unknown whether it was from exhaustion or shyness. She stared straight at Chen Guang and said, "Are you okay? Is there any more poison?" Chen Guang rolled his eyes. "I was fine, but if you keep sucking like this for a while, I'll have to go to the hospital for a blood transfusion. I'm a little dizzy. I think I'm anemic." Teacher Zhua, this snake is called a cauliflower snake in my hometown. It's not poisonous. Why didn't you say so earlier? I saw that you were quite into it, so I didn't have the heart to interrupt you. In the end, it was a false alarm. Zhujiangxi came with the intention of denouncing him, but she left with a red face. Chen Guang braced himself and came, but he left with a few small bloody holes on his finger. He did not know who won and who lost. At this time, the two of them did not know that Wang Ren was indeed looking for trouble with Chen Guang. Moreover, the evidence he had was not limited to what happened yesterday. The next day, the first class in the morning had just ended. When the whole class was preparing to return to their dorms, they saw Wang Ren and a large group of people blocking the classroom entrance. Zhujiangxi, who was in the crowd, desperately tried to signal Chen Guang with her eyes, but to no avail. Vice Dean Han was also in the crowd. His face was full of impatience, but he was pulled by Wang Ren and did not let him go. Chen Guang knew in his heart that this Wang Ren was really looking for trouble, but he was not in a hurry. He casually walked to the classroom entrance, pretending not to see this group of people, and was about to walk past them. "Chen Guang, stop right there." Today, Wang Ren seemed to be very confident. He suddenly turned to the side and stood in front of Chen Guang. He shouted sternly, and there was a bit of an awe-inspiring aura. "What business does Director Wang have with me?" Chen Guang stood where he was and greeted him calmly. Wang Ren first turned around to take a few glances at the people behind him, who Wang Ren didn't know what their positions were in the academy. He then turned around and said, "Chen Guang, you gathered a crowd to fight, bullied a fellow student, and had a very bad influence. The school believes that you have seriously violated the school's rules." Chen Guang raised his eyebrows, and then Fatty Wang was about to speak, but Sun Xiaoxuan, who was behind Chen Guang, had already taken the lead to make a scene. This petite, seemingly weak girl from Jiangnan suddenly squeezed between Chen Guang and Wang Ren. She looked straight at Wang Ren and said loudly, "I am Sun Xiaoxuan, the class monitor of the Environmental Sciences course. I know Chen Guang's situation the best. Director Wang, there must be some misunderstanding. Everyone in our Environmental Sciences course knows that Chen Guang is upright and warm-hearted. He is definitely not someone who gathered a crowd to fight and bullied a fellow student like you said. You must have made a mistake somewhere." Chapter 168. Sun Xiaoxuan's sudden outburst was beyond everyone's expectations, not even Chen Guang. At this moment, she was like an enraged cow protecting her calf, baring her fangs and brandishing her claws in front of Wang Ren. She glared at Wang Ren, whom many girls in the academy secretly regarded as a scourge, without the slightest bit of fear. Wang Ren was stunned for a moment, and so were the school leaders and staff he brought to support him. Before coming here, Wang Ren had repeatedly emphasized to them that Chen Guang was aggressive, hot-tempered, and disobedient. He was likely to be difficult to deal with. That was why he called so many people to create pressure on Chen Guang so that he would willingly follow everyone to the conference room. At that time, they would decide how to punish him according to his repentant attitude and situation. In the end, Chen Guang hadn't even spoken yet, but Sun Xiaoxuan, a well-known and excellent student in the academy, had jumped out. Wang Ren and everyone else looked at each other, feeling like they were in a difficult position. "Xiao Zhuo, control your students." Wang Ren had no choice but to vent his anger on Zhujiangxi. Zhujiangxi turned her face to the side and didn't even bother to look at Wang Ren. She couldn't wait for Sun Xiaoxuan to be more violent, so that Wang Ren wouldn't be able to do anything today. Chen Guang patted Sun Xiaoxuan's shoulder from behind. "Class rep, you go to the back. We all know what kind of person Fatty Wang is. I don't want you to be targeted by him." As soon as Chen Guang said this, the environmental engineering class behind him wanted to laugh but couldn't. They wanted to laugh because Wang Lin was exposed by Chen Guang in public. They couldn't laugh because they thought of the poor girl from last year. Moreover, Sun Xiaoxuan was standing on the opposite side of Wang Ren, so everyone was subconsciously worried for Sun Xiaoxuan. Sun Xiaoxuan still wanted to say something, but Chen Guang suddenly put his mouth next to her ear and said, "I'm really fine. You go to the back first." Perhaps Chen Guang's words were magical, because Sun Xiaoxuan actually retreated in a daze. Chen Guang, show some respect to the school teachers. Wang Ren was instantly enraged that Chen Guang was called Fatty Wang before so many people. Chen Guang glanced at him. "The Fatty Wang I'm talking about might not be you. I can't do anything about it if you insist. Looking at you today, you won't stop until you show me some power, right? But if you want to come to me with a few empty words and treat me like a policeman arresting a criminal, I don't agree with your reasoning. So, go back to where you came from. Others might be afraid of you, but I'm not." Wang Ren's eyes widened in anger at Chen Guang's rebuke. He was so angry that he almost choked on his breath. It took him a long time to calm down. He finally thought of something and turned his gaze to the crowd behind Chen Guang. Pan Zhang's buddies, who had been hiding in the crowd and pretending to disappear, couldn't sit still, but they still didn't want to move. Wang Ren coughed fiercely again. Finally, someone stood up. It was Ren Yuan. He took a deep breath and shouted, "Director Wang, even if Chen Guang really did beat Pan Zhang into the hospital and make him quit school, we are still students. The school doesn't have to punish students like this, right? It's not good to do it in public. You're talking nonsense. You clearly know that Pan Zhang wanted to." Sun Xiaoxuan was anxious, but he couldn't finish his words. He found it a little difficult to say it out loud. Ren Yuan continued to say, "Class rep, we all know that you like Chen Guang. But the conflict between Chen Guang and Pan Zhang has nothing to do with you. The two of them have a deep grudge in class, and everyone knows that. Ren Yuan, you're lying through your teeth. Do you really not know why Pan Zhang was beaten? Didn't you see it with your own eyes that day?" Lin Jingwei was standing next to Ren Yuan. As soon as this grandson finished speaking, Lin Jingwei grabbed his collar from the side. Xiong had already raised his fist. "Okay. I was wondering why that damn fatty Wang Ren came looking for trouble. So it's you bastards who became his traitors. I'll beat you up." There were still so many people watching. He couldn't let that idiot Xiong hit him in public. Chen Guang reacted quickly. He hurriedly pounced on Xiong's back and pulled him back. "What are you being impulsive for? Lin Jingwei, you let go too." With Chen Guang's roar, Lin Jingwei and Xiong immediately calmed down and stopped making a fuss. "Ren Yuan, you're very good. Very good." Chen Guang stood in front of Ren Yuan and looked at him coldly. From Ren Yuan's expression, there was a sense of helplessness. However, he only turned his face to the side and didn't look at Chen Guang anymore. Turning back, Chen Guang grinned and said, "Director Wang, I'll go with you." Fatty Wang's face finally revealed a cunning smile. He thought to himself that he had already prepared everything. Ren Yuan and the others had also settled everything. When they reached the academy building, the best result for Chen Guang today would be to give him a big demerit. If he was still so arrogant at that time, he might even be expelled. At this time, Vice President Han finally spoke. This old man had been watching the situation from the side with cold eyes. He came in front of Chen Guang and patted his shoulder. He said sincerely and earnestly, "Young people shouldn't be too impulsive. Don't worry, the academy will make a decision based on the actual situation. When the time comes, you just have to state the truth. I promise, I won't wrong a good student." How could old man Han not understand Wang Ren's plan? However, he himself was the person with the highest position here. He also thought highly of Chen Guang. When he said this, he had already secretly made up his mind. If it really came to that, he would come forward to forcefully protect Chen Guang. At least, he absolutely couldn't let him get expelled. Wang Ren watched coldly from the side. He didn't seem to care much about old man Han's attitude. Chen Guang nodded, but his brows were still furrowed. Through Ren Yuan's actions just now, he had already roughly guessed Fatty Wang's plan. Let's go. Qin Guang. Fatty Wang stretched out his hand to pull Qin Guang. However, Qin Guang glared at him and he shyly withdrew his hand. We're going too. Bai Fan shouted at the top of his lungs. This isn't Qin Guang's personal matter. The whole class is a witness. Sun Xiaoxuan was about to say something, but Qin Guang suddenly pulled her skirt and whispered in her ear, Class monitor, do me a favor. I'm afraid I won't have a chance to make a phone call later. My new phone hasn't come yet, and I'm too lazy to use someone else's phone to change my number. Quickly help me go to Wenxing Town Police Station and find Officer Wu Tong. Just say that the school plans to use Pan Zhang's matter to punish me. She will know what to do. She will help you? Chapter 169. Did you forget? Didn't she ask us to go to Pan Zhang's ward the next day and arrest his father as well? Actually, I had already decided that it was a good Samaritan, but I still had to pay for it. That's why I didn't tell you in detail, afraid that you'd feel bad about it. I see. Chen Guang nodded heavily. So you can go find him and come back as soon as you find him. Sun Xiaoxuan's eyes lit up. That's right. To Wang Ren, it was a brawl, but to Officer Wu, it was a good Samaritan. By the time Officer Wu arrived, no matter how much Wang Ren tried to jump around, the Wenxing Branch Bureau's investigation would make Wang Ren a clown. Who knew? The Academy might even reward Qin Guang for this matter. But what about yesterday's incident? Sun Xiaoxuan obviously knew about yesterday's incident. Chen Guang waved his hand indifferently. Dong Tao didn't come today, which means yesterday's incident didn't affect him at all. Fatty Wang must have only one trick up his sleeve. Hurry up and come back, we're waiting for you to save our lives. Sun Xiaoxuan calmed down. Looking at Wang Ren's smug face, he felt like he was a clown. What are you guys mumbling about? Hurry up and go. Wang Ren became impatient when he saw that Qin Guang didn't move. Sun Xiaoxuan quietly retreated to the back of the crowd. Qin Guang raised his head and glared at Fatty Wang. Are you rushing me? Fatty Wang. Zhuo Jingxi quickly pulled him back. All right. Calm down. How am I going to help you with your attitude? After another commotion, a group of people walked majestically toward the academy building, attracting a lot of attention along the way. Those with keen eyesight and information sources recognized Qin Guang, who was walking in the middle, and whispered amongst themselves. This guy is that Qin Guang from yesterday's school forum, right? Looks like he's going to get his comeuppance. I think something's wrong. Do you see the person walking in front who looks like an official? Do you know him? Who's that? Wang Ren, the infamous scumbag of the school. That's the one who forced me to death. Sure. Keep your voice down. Don't let that guy hear you. Otherwise, even if we're not from the same academy, he can still use his connections to find trouble with us. Sai, he's been targeted by that scum. That Qin Guang is going to be in big trouble this time. Qin Guang didn't care what these bystanders thought. At this time, he was very casually chatting with Lin Jingwei. Lin Jingwei moved closer to him and whispered, looking at Fatty Wang's attitude, it seems that he wants to get you fired today? When we get there, control your emotions and don't fall into his trap. Even if the matter of beating up Pan Zhang is set in stone, strictly speaking, it can only be a big mistake. Since Qin Guang was confident in his heart, he casually waved his hand and continued, don't worry about it. Didn't you notice that there's a very important person missing from our class team? Lin Jingwei looked left and right and found that Sun Xiaoxuan was indeed gone. Where did the class monitor go? Chen Guang chuckled. His eyes drifted in the direction of Wenxingzhen outside of the school. He whispered, what do you think Fatty Wang's expression will be when our sister, Officer Wu, arrives later if the police label me as a righteous person? Will he give me a demerit? Want to fire me? Lin Jingwei understood tacitly. He chuckled, Brother Guang, you're really something. I really want to see Fatty Wang's expression when he gives you a big slap in the face. Ren Yuan and the others only know that you were taken away by the police. They don't know what happened after that. They definitely didn't expect that you would be judged by Officer Wu, right? Chen Guang also chuckled. Of course, just listen to me. Remember not to spill the beans. Also, tell Bai Nyangzi and Xiong Jinka to keep them quiet. If the sky really falls, we can only slap Wang Ren's own face. Lin Jingwei nodded. No problem. I was scared to death. I almost thought I had to find someone. Chen Guang asked curiously, find who? Wang Ren's grandson looked at Chen Guang with a suspicious expression. Lin Jingwei had already stepped aside and did not answer Chen Guang's question. 10 minutes later, everyone arrived at the school's conference room. It was the same room that Chen Guang's class used to receive the MIT professor. In fact, it was not suitable to punish students in public. However, everyone in the environmental sciences class insisted on entering the conference room, and Wang Ren could not stop them. Vice Director Han stood up to be the peacemaker and finally let everyone in. Wang Ren thought, it doesn't matter. I'm well prepared and have witnesses and material evidence. Even if these brats make a fuss, it's useless. It's better to let them see clearly what happens when they offend me. It will also make Shu Jingxi understand that sooner or later, Monkey Sun will not be able to escape from the palm of Buddha's hand. Even if there is a large group of monkeys standing behind Monkey Sun, it is useless. Right? I didn't notice before, but there are quite a lot of beautiful girls in this environmental sciences class. I hope you don't give me any dirt on you in the future. Where is the class monitor who was quite tough just now? That girl is the prettiest. No wonder that idiot Pan Jiang fell for her. Forget it. It's better that she is not here. Without her, the testimony of Ren Yuan and the others will be more authentic. Director Wang, we are already here. Just say what you want to say. Anyway, in my opinion, Chen Guang is excellent in both character and study, and is a rare talent in our school. There must be some misunderstanding about what you said. Clarify the misunderstanding as soon as possible, and this matter will be over. Vice Director Han seemed to have made up his mind. As soon as he sat down, he took the initiative to speak. What he said was to help Chen Guang. Chen Guang gave Vice Director Han a grateful look. Everyone knew that Wang Ren had a strong relationship with the school's higher-ups. It was really rare that Vice Director Han was willing to help him to this extent. Zhu Jingxi also sat next to Chen Guang. She looked like she was going through thick and thin with him. She said loudly, Chen Guang is my student. I know him very well. I don't think he is a fierce person. Last time when our class received Professor Schmidt from MIT, you were also there. You saw with your own eyes that Chen Guang won glory for the school and the school. I hope that when Director Wang makes some decisions, you will not disappoint the majority of the students. In fact, she had already made up her mind. If Chen Guang was really expelled because of Wang Ren, she would not be able to continue as a counselor. If Wang Ren got rid of Chen Guang, the next person to be unlucky would definitely be her. Forget it. If he leaves, I'll leave too. As the dean of the school's student affairs department, Wang Ren had to play the leading role in this kind of meeting. However, he was not in a hurry to start the show. Instead, he smiled calmly at Vice Director Han and Zhu Jingxi. Teacher Zhu, don't get agitated. Of course, it is not up to me to decide whether it is right or wrong. Everything has to be based on evidence. However, not everyone is here yet. Let's wait a little longer. As soon as he finished speaking, two figures appeared at the door of the conference room. Everyone looked up and was shocked. The principal of the school, Vice Director Tong, and another deputy director, Deng, actually appeared at the door at the same time. What kind of situation was this? There were 3 deans in the school, 1 principal and 2 deputy directors. Because of Chen Guang's matter, they were all gathered together. Chapter 170. Old Han glanced at Wang Ren, and his face suddenly became very gloomy. This was troublesome. Of course, he knew that Deputy Dean Deng was the one who was on Wang Ren's side in the academy. Looking at Dean Tong's unwilling expression, she must have been dragged here by Deputy Dean Deng. If both of them were here, if Wang Ren really made the evidence irrefutable, he wouldn't be able to protect Chen Guang. It's no wonder why Wang Lin dragged me along despite knowing my attitude toward Wuxia and Xianxia. So it turns out that you still have a trump card. Wang Lin, are you trying to take me down a notch? As soon as the two deans entered the door, they immediately became the focus of everyone's attention. Dean Tong pressed Deputy Dean Deng behind her without changing her expression. She waved at the crowd and said with a smile, "Recently, the school has been focusing on the construction of the academic atmosphere. I heard that some students in the school have encountered some problems, so I'm just here to listen in. Don't be too nervous, everyone. Today's meeting is still presided over by Director Wang. That's student Xianxia, right? Don't be too nervous. We're a school, a place to educate people, not a court. We always treat students with leniency. As long as the violation is not too serious, anything can be discussed." As expected of Dean Tong, she reacted very quickly. She spoke casually, but then sat on the left side of Old Han as if she hadn't said anything. Deputy Dean Deng also smiled and waved at the crowd. "My attitude is exactly the same as Dean Tong's." After saying that, he sat on the left side of Dean Tong again, and the three deans sat together. "Old Han, why are you here first? Is it really so serious?" Dean Tong tilted her head slightly to Old Han's side and asked in a low voice. Old Han was about to say something about Xianxia's behavior when he received Xianxia that day, which could be considered as helping Dean Tong to have a good impression of Xianxia. Deputy Dean Deng suddenly came over and said, "In my opinion, our school's discipline should have been improved a long time ago. Our academy is famous for being a large compound of monks. Males make up the majority of the population. These young fellows are all hot-blooded and vigorous. If we don't properly discipline them, who knows when they will cause a big problem. Even the three of us as the deans will not be able to escape responsibility." Old Han's awareness is really high. He came here early in the morning to oversee things, unlike Old Tong. I had to drag him here with great difficulty after I talked about all sorts of things. Old Man Han's mouth twitched and he could only chuckle. Old Deng is right. He turned his face away and began to curse Deputy Director Deng's family in his heart. "Aren't you putting in too much effort to support Wang Lin?" Dean Tong knew that the two of them didn't get along. Seeing the situation, she didn't say anything more. Instead, she turned to look at Wang Lin, who was fiddling with the projection equipment on the podium. Before coming here, he had heard about the student's situation from Deputy Dean Deng. He wondered why Wang Lin still had a projector. He couldn't possibly make a PowerPoint presentation to punish a student, right? Was there a need to go through so much trouble? Beneath the stage, Xianxia looked at Fatty Wang with his eyelids drooping. At this moment, he was feeling a little bored. After all, no matter how high Fatty Wang jumped, as long as Wu Tong came, Xianxia would immediately turn into a clown. Xianxia covered his yawn with his hand and thought to himself, "I'm a little sleepy." About 2 minutes later, Wang Lin finally finished fiddling with all the skills. He looked at the three deans below the podium and faintly showed a hint of pride on his face. "Xianxia, the show I carefully prepared for you is about to begin." With an incomparably comfortable and expectant mood, Wang Lin turned his gaze to the front row where Xianxia had just sat. He wanted to see Xianxia's helpless and panicked look. What? This kid fell asleep on the table. He fell asleep just like that. At this moment, only Xianxia and Wuxia were sitting in the first row of the entire conference room. As for the other students, under Xianxia's deliberate request, they all moved to the back. Therefore, the appearance of Xianxia sleeping on the table was particularly eye-catching. Wuxia was also confused. She was just a little distracted when Dean Tong and Deputy Dean Deng entered the room. How did this kid fall asleep in front of everyone when she turned around? Are you even the slightest bit nervous? Pa. Wang Lin slapped the podium hard. Xianxia. Xianxia slowly opened his eyes and looked at Wang Lin. He yawned again and ignored him. Instead, he turned his head to look at Wuxia. "Teacher Zhua, where is he?" He was so angry that he laughed. Wuxia thought to herself, "This guy, Xianxia, is still deliberately angering Wang Lin at a time like this. It hasn't started yet. Stop pretending to be asleep." Wuxia pinched Xianxia's waist fiercely under the table. She seemed to have used too much strength. Chen Guang's expression changed. He was in so much pain that his mouth twitched. He felt bitter in his heart. My teacher Zhua, can you be a little more reserved? We have a pure and healthy teacher-student relationship. You're making it difficult for me to deal with you without saying anything. Also, I really didn't pretend to be asleep. I really fell asleep just now. Chen Guang. Wang Lin shouted again as he watched the two of them from the podium. His eyes were red with jealousy. Chen Guang turned his head and supported his chin with his right hand. Half of his body was on the table, and his left hand casually waved in front of him. It was very much like how a waiter would move in a restaurant. He yawned again and said, Teacher Wang, if you have anything to say, hurry up and say it. I'm afraid I'll fall asleep again. Wang Lin glared at him. His hands were shaking with anger. This student is a little arrogant and unruly. Dean Tong saw this scene and said softly, It's normal for a talented student to be a little arrogant. I remember that when you were young, Old Tong, didn't you also like to talk back to our tutor? Old Han laughed at the side. He and Dean Tong did indeed study under the same tutor when they were young. The two of them had a deep relationship. Deputy Dean Deng snorted. Our Gokyo University nurtures talents, so we need to have both ability and integrity. When Old Tong was young, he was arrogant. That was because he was knowledgeable, so he could argue with the old man. What kind of attitude is this from Chen Guang? He made a mistake. How can he be compared to Old Tong when he was young? All right. Whether he made a mistake or not, we still have to wait for Wang Lin to finish talking before we make a conclusion. Old Deng, don't mention the sarcasm in your words. Dean Tong could hear the tension in the air. He pointed at Deputy Dean Deng and asked him to restrain himself. He didn't want his two deputy deans to quarrel in this situation. On the stage, Wang Lin spent a lot of effort to control his mood. He clicked the mouse hard, and the image on the projector changed. The first picture appeared. It was the post that had been discussed by many people on the school forum. It was a picture of a rich second generation beating up someone and smashing a car. In the picture, Chen Guang was standing in front of a half-destroyed Audi A4L with his arms crossed. He looked very indifferent and expressionless. Wang Lin pointed at Chen Guang in the picture. Everyone see that? This is the violent incident that caused a terrible impact on the school yesterday. Chen Guang, this is you, right? Snore, snore, snore. He fell asleep again. He fell asleep with one hand propped up. Chen Guang. It's me. Go on, I'm listening. Chen Guang raised his eyelids by about 2 millimeters. He didn't even bother to nod his head. He just stretched out his hand and waved to show his attitude. At this moment, Wang Lin wanted to give Chen Guang a slap, but a slap wasn't sufficient to vent the hatred in his heart. Since Chen Guang still has this attitude, then don't blame me for firing you. Do you really think that I only have these few pictures? Ren Yuan's signs were so obvious just now. Don't tell me you didn't notice anything? Idiot. Chapter 171. It took about 20 minutes for Wang Lin to tell the whole story of yesterday's beating and smashing of the car. During this period, Dean Tong and Deputy Dean Deng kept frowning. Although Deputy Dean Han appreciated Chen Guang's talent, he also felt a little headache. He even secretly wondered if Chen Guang was really so violent. The other academy leaders and teachers couldn't help but whisper to each other. The students in the engineering class gradually became silent from the initial excitement. Although many people knew the cause and effect of the incident, it was disadvantageous to Chen Guang. Wang Lin didn't frame Qin Haodong at the beginning, but directly showed a slide, showing the photos and videos taken by people on the internet, showing the facts and evidence. This matter seemed to be irrefutable. Chen Guang, what do you want to say? Do you admit that it was you who led this group of second-generation rich kids to bully others, beat students in public, and damage their valuable belongings? Wang Lin slammed the table and shouted angrily. He secretly looked forward to it. Here it comes, the first climax of the day is coming. Let's see how you take it. There is nothing to say. This matter has nothing to do with me. I am just an innocent passerby who happened to be in the camera. That's it. Do you have anything else to say? However, Su Tao never expected that Qin Guang would have the same sleepy expression as he yawned once more. You're lying through your teeth. The evidence is conclusive. How dare you say it has nothing to do with you? Wang Lin shouted angrily. Chen Guang finally took his right hand off his face. He slightly leaned back and twisted his neck. The evidence is conclusive? Did you see me beating people in your photos? Did I? Students, did you see it? Teacher Zhua, did you see it? Dean Tong, did you see me beating people in the photos? Director Wang, which eye of yours saw it? Since Chen Guang dared to speak like this, he had the confidence to do so. At that time, he had acted so suddenly that it was impossible for anyone to have the time to take photos and videos. Perhaps Dong Tao's companions could see the scene of him beating him up on the dashcam, but these people would never dare to testify for Wang Lin, especially after seeing the scene of Zhong Bai and the others smashing the car with their own eyes. Wang Lin's expression changed. He had arranged these photos himself, so of course he knew that there was no footage of Qin Guang hitting someone. But you've been stepping on Dong Tao's hand. Wang Lin flipped through the photo and was overjoyed. He had found something to show off. I'm really sorry, I was so scared at that time that I didn't know it was student Dong Tao. I'll apologize to him later. Chen Guang shrugged and asked again, well, you can't say that I hit him, right? What about smashing cars? Did I smash the car? He really didn't. From the beginning to the end, he didn't move at all. Wang Lin didn't answer, but Chen Guang slammed the table fiercely. Dean Wang, you're the dean of our school's discipline department. You're in charge of the discipline of the 1 to 2,000 students in our school. Your very careless attitude really disappoints us students. Just because I was standing close to the car, you suspect that I smashed the car, and you're accusing me without any evidence? In the video, there were quite a few people who were also very close to the car. Why don't you suspect them? Moreover, you say that I'm a bully. Then tell me, who did I bully? Where's the victim? Wang Lin was speechless. He had thought that these photos would be questioned as evidence. After all, they weren't convincing enough, but he didn't expect Qin Guang to fly into a rage in front of everyone. He really didn't feel guilty at all. How could he be so sure that Dong Tao would reject his request and not dare to stand up and accuse him? That was really strange. That Dong Tao was too much of a coward. Was he afraid of those second-generation rich kids? What a joke. This was a school. It wasn't a place for second-generation rich kids to show off. But it didn't matter. This was just an excuse. The main show was yet to come. Dean Tong, you just said that this is a school, not a court, nor a police station. It's a place to teach and educate people. But even if this isn't a court, you still have to pay attention to evidence. You definitely can't be like Dean Wang and frame me out of thin air and make wild guesses about me based on some so-called evidence. I'm a student, yes, but I'm a human first. Wang Lin is violating my human rights and tarnishing my reputation. At this moment, Qin Guang stood up. He was so agitated that he was waving his hands and feet as he spoke loudly. Seeing him like this, Wang Lin didn't panic at all. I'll let you jump all you want. It's time for me to show my trump card. Kid, I want you to be happy first, then I'll let you know that regret is useless. Bang. Wang Lin slammed the table again. You think that's all I have? Ren Yuan, you guys come up here. Tell me everything that happened between Qin Guang and Pan Jiang that day. As soon as he said this, all the other students in the environmental engineering class looked at Ren Yuan and his friends who were sitting awkwardly at the edge of the table. Ren Yuan, you scumbags. You know that Pan Jiang drugged Xiao Sun. Chen Guang hit people to save Xiao Sun. You guys know everything. What are you going to do? Bai Nyangzi and his friends already knew Chen Guang's plan, so they didn't make a sound. They didn't panic at all. But Gao Ye couldn't help but slam the table and stand up. Following Gao Ye's action, the other girls also stood up and accused Ren Yuan and his friends. Ren Yuan and his friends were embarrassed. They knew that if they did this today, they would be isolated in the environmental engineering class forever. But what could they do? Wang Lin had a handle on them. If they didn't agree to his request, they would be expelled. Gaoya thought that as Qin Guang's best friends, Lin Jingwei and his friends would be more excited than she was. However, when she turned around, she saw Lin Jingwei's 3 grandsons huddled together and playing with their cell phones. Their heads were close to each other, and their eyes were fixed on the cell phones under the table. On the screen was the HD version of The Legend of the Sword and Fairy that had just been remade for the cell phone. Gaoya almost fainted. Her best friend was going to be fired because of a false accusation. Why are the 3 of you still playing games here? Lin Jingwei. Gaoya yelled with hatred. Lin Jingwei, who was instructing Bai Nyangzi to use Li Xiaoyao to activate the ultimate skill of the Liquor Sword Fairy, shivered. Without thinking, he slammed the table with much more strength than Gaoya and stood up abruptly. That's right. Gaoya is right. He slammed the table so hard that it almost broke. The first victims were Bai Nyangzi and Xiong. Chapter 172. Our ears. Little Lin, you idiot. You should have told us in advance. Bai Nyangzi covered his ears and fell to the side. Chen Guang, who was dozing off in the front row, was startled awake by Lin Jingwei. He had to give it to Lin Jingwei and secretly scolded Lin Jingwei for being an idiot. If you like Gaoya, then so be it. Why don't you pay more attention to the situation? The rest of the class could not help but laugh. Gaoya's face turned red. Just a moment ago she was berating Wang Lin, but now, she was so embarrassed that she did not know where to hide her head. Seeing that the trial against Qin Guang had almost turned into a farce, Wang Ren's face was so ugly that it could drip water. Quiet down. Ren Yuan, hurry up and come up here. Ren Yuan and the rest shivered and looked at the others apologetically. Then, they shrunk their necks and walked up to the podium. When they passed by Qin Guang, Ren Yuan seemed to be a little hesitant. He said softly, I'm sorry, Qin Guang. Qin Guang waved his hand nonchalantly. It doesn't matter. Just say what you want to say. Don't apologize to me because I won't forgive you. As expected, Ren Yuan and the rest told the story of the conflict between Pan Jiang and Qin Guang all these years. However, they changed the last part. They only said that when Pan Jiang invited Sun Xiaoshuan for dinner, Qin Guang also had a crush on Sun Xiaoshuan. He was jealous and chased him to the restaurant. Then, the 2 of them got into an argument and got into a fight. In the end, Pan Jiang was injured and sent to the hospital, while Qin Guang was taken away by the police. As for the matter of drugging Pan Jiang, they completely avoided it. Based on what they said, it seemed that because of jealousy, Qin Guang beat up Pan Jiang and caused him to drop out of school. While Ren Yuan and the rest were telling the story of the conflict between Qin Guang and Pan Jiang, Wang Lin stood on the podium and did not say a word. He had become an outsider, as if he was not the one who started the whole thing. It was as if Ren Yuan and the rest could not bear to see Pan Jiang being wronged, so they came to help him. We don't know why Pan Jiang dropped out of school. Since he was sent to the hospital, we haven't been able to contact him. When we called him, he didn't pick up. We don't even know which hospital ward he's staying in. It's as if he disappeared into thin air. Even the news of him dropping out of school was only known after teacher Shua told us. Ren Yuan didn't say anything else after he said that. Wang Lin coughed again, as if he was hinting at something. Of course, he had requested Ren Yuan to add in some of their so-called words of defending Pan Jiang's injustice, and not like what he was doing now. He was like a lousy announcer, using a tone that sounded like he was reading his lines and talking about something that seemed to have nothing to do with them. Unfortunately, Ren Yuan and the rest were determined not to say anything else. They turned their faces to the side and looked at something in the corner. No one knew what they were thinking. However, their meaningless confession could not be forgiven or understood by their classmates. Ren Yuan, you guys are too much. Too disgusting. Inverting right and wrong, do you guys even have a conscience? We thought you guys were not on the same side as Pan Jiang. When Teacher Zhuo called everyone to eat, we wanted to ask you guys to come. Now we know. No wonder you guys didn't come, you didn't have the face to come. What did Wang Lin give you guys? The boys and girls in the class were so angry that they could not control themselves. Some of the more violent ones even wanted to rush forward and beat up Ren Yuan and the rest. Shut up. Be quiet, all of you. Do you want to fight in front of all of us teachers? Fatty Wang saw that the situation was getting out of control and shouted loudly. Dean Tong also stood up from his seat and said loudly, "Students, please be quiet. The meeting is not over yet. I understand your feelings, but our school has never advocated violence. No matter what reason there is, we do not approve the use of violence as a means to solve problems." Dean Tong's words were indeed effective. Everyone had always been dissatisfied with Wang Ren, but they had always been in awe of the highest leader of the entire school. Wang Ren said again, "If it was just Ren Yuan and the rest's oral accounts, it might not be convincing enough, but here is a surveillance video provided by Qin Yixin. The evidence is irrefutable." After saying that, Wang Ren fiercely clicked the mouse, and a very clear surveillance video was projected. This surveillance video was not recorded in the private room. It started from the moment Qin Guang entered the room, kicked the door open, and punched and kicked the poor Pan Jiang until Pan Jiang could no longer get up. The entire process was recorded from the surveillance camera in the hall, which just happened to avoid Sun Xiaoxuan, who was unconscious beside the door of the private room. As for the second half of the scene where Sun Xiaoxuan was helped out by Gao Ye and the rest, Wang Ren directly cut it out. After the surveillance video was played, Wang Ren sneered at Qin Guang. "Qin Guang, what else do you have to say? You were the one who beat him up, weren't you? Everyone, look at how cruel his methods were. Even in the boxing ring, he would not use such a method to directly attack someone's lower body. This is a complete disregard for human life. How can this be considered a student? He's a complete thug." The more Wang Ren spoke, the more agitated he became. He slammed the podium heavily and glared at Qin Guang. "Qin Guang. Although I don't know why Pan Jiang chose to drop out of school after suffering such a great injustice, I have reason to believe that it was you, Qin Guang, who used coercion to force him to give in. But I have reason to believe that it was you, Qin Guang, who used coercion to force him to give in. Just like how you led those rich young masters to smash other people's cars yesterday. Even if Pan Jiang did not personally accuse you of this, as the Dean of Student Affairs, I will not allow a student like you to continue to stay in our school. Damn, this grandson's acting skills are really good. If I had half of his acting skills, I would be able to become a specialized villain actor in Big Beard Deng's side. This grandson was born to do this. This is talent, I can't even be envious of him." Tilting his head, Qin Guang raised his eyes to look at Wang Ren. He couldn't even be bothered to open his mouth, allowing Wang Ren to do whatever he wanted. In the end, Qin Guang only treated Wang Ren as a clown. At the same time, Qin Guang was calculating the time in his mind. Why is Wu Tong not here yet? Could she be out on a mission? Damn. If that's really the case, then I'm not just a clown from today onwards. To be honest, I'm a little panicky. Nonsense. There's something wrong with the angle of this video. Xiao Sun is just behind the door frame. It's blocked. I have Xiao Sun's medical report here. It's written on black and white paper that there are hallucinogenic drugs in Xiao Sun's body. That's the drug that Pan Jiang drugged Xiao Sun. Qin Guang is trying to save him. He's acting bravely for a just cause. Just then, there was another commotion from the students at the back of the crowd. It turned out that Gao Ye was going crazy again. She stood up abruptly and yelled, holding a report in her hand. Beside her stood another girl who was sweating profusely. Poor girl, she wasn't at the scene. She had quietly gone back to her dorm to get the report. Lin Jingwei was blind and didn't notice her absence at all. Wang Ren seemed to have expected this. He sneered, "Student, as Qin Guang said just now, although this isn't a court, we still need evidence. Even if the medical report in your hand is real, is there any evidence that Pan Jiang drugged Sun Xiaoxuan? I have reason to believe that after Qin Guang hit someone, Sun Xiaoxuan took the drug himself to help him get out of it." Of course, Wang Ren was just talking nonsense. However, as the dean of the discipline department, he prided himself on being well-informed. If the police really determined that Pan Jiang poisoned Sun Xiaoxuan, Wenxing Town Branch would definitely inform the school, and Wang Lin would be the first to know about it. It had been a long time since the incident, but there was no news from Wenxing Town Branch. Before he framed Qin Guang, Wang Lin even took the initiative to inquire about it. Pan Jiang wasn't convicted. Poor Wang Lin. He didn't know that because Pan Jiang's case was related to Pan Dehai's murder case, it became a related case, and the level of confidentiality was raised by several levels. In addition, when Wu Tong was handling this case, she fell for Qin Guang and Emperor of the Azure's plot, and released Qin Guang too early. It was barely considered a violation of the rules, but it was reasonable. Wu Tong felt embarrassed after the incident and locked it in her file. Of course, Wang Lin couldn't find out anything. Of course, even if there was an inside story, Wang Lin didn't care, because in this school, he had the final say in how a student should be punished. Even if Qin Guang was a good Samaritan, he could still say that Qin Guang had a violent personality and was a potential danger. The school still had the right to punish or expel him, but the effect wouldn't be as good as it was now. Gao Ye slammed the table again and pointed at Wang Lin. "You're just talking. If you say it's bad, then it's bad. If you say it's white, then it's white. We don't accept this. Yeah, we don't accept this. Qin Guang is innocent. You, Fatty Wang, are deliberately framing him. You can't stand the fact that Qin Guang ruined your stupid idea." Looking at these people making a ruckus, Wang Lin didn't care at all. He only sneered in his heart. Isn't that the case? In this school, if I want someone to be black, then they'll be white. All right, now that the witness and material evidence are here, I won't say anything about the court's verdict. Today's incident is all because of the student in your class. In view of Qin Guang's actions and his unrepentant attitude today, I think the school should expel him. Our school doesn't need this kind of violent student. We don't want to nurture him either. As Wang Lin spoke, he grabbed a thick stack of materials out of nowhere and slammed it on the table, full of vigor. He couldn't hide the smugness in his heart and secretly let out a long sigh of relief. He had finally said the most important sentence. Wang Lin then looked at the three deans' current expressions. Old Man Han seemed to be a little helpless, his brows tightly furrowed. Deputy Deans Deng exchanged a glance with him and revealed an understanding expression. Dean Tong, on the other hand, squinted her eyes, as if she was thinking about something. Wang Lin grinned. "Qin Guang, you're finished. You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.